Welcome in. It is Thursday, Friday Junior, aka Friday Eve here on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sertivant. Carlene Bragg is here.
Hi.
So we've been kind of keeping you updated on the status of our voices,
Our health.
Our health. It's kind of snowballed over the. It started off as like raspy to
You could say
raspier.
we're just making it.
We're making
We're
it.
making
I think
it.
we have some sort of
Yeah.
crud going on.
Yeah. Like I said, we went to Northeast weddings, and that's what did it.
Came back with something. So bear with us today. My voice sounds a little nasally, a little raspier. We're working through some things, but I got some some airborne. Carlene has some airborne in her system too. So we're making it through. So we're going to chug along here. A lot happening today. Thank you for hanging with us here on WCNC Plus. Live Impact News. All right, so we don't want to waste any time. So let's go to a story that we are following today. So you may have heard of DOGE, the federal government, or I guess it was just Department of Government Efficiency. So there is a similar thing happening in North Carolina, and right now they're looking at North Carolina liquor sales. Julie K, covering all things politics. I was trying to remember the name. You told me not to.
I said, don't try to say it. He said, no.
I'm going to do it, crud and all. But so we have this Department of Efficiency here in North Carolina, and again, they're working to privatize liquor
Potentially.
sales? Yeah, okay.
They're looking into what that would look like in terms of costs for North Carolina.
Okay.
So it's the Committee of Government Efficiency at the state level. They modeled it. Speaker Destin Hall modeled this after Trump's DOGE. And so same idea of looking for waste, fraud, and abuse within government. They have focused less on funding and more on the DEI piece of it in general at the state level. Because the Republicans have been in control of the legislature for quite a while. And so I think that they're focusing on different avenues as opposed to decisions they've made. But something that we've had for a while, obviously, is state-owned or state-controlled liquor sales. So as you know, if you want to go buy vodka or any other liquor, you have to go to an ABC store, as opposed to where I'm from in Missouri, you can just go to a gas station or a grocery store.
Right.
So they are looking at what that would look like if we got rid of this and put it to private sales. This has been brought up before. There hasn't been a ton of momentum before, but because this committee has a new focus, and it was really the co-chair of the committee, Representative Kidwell, who seemed the most in favor of this process, that this looks like it's getting a little bit more momentum. I do want to be clear that no bill has been filed or anything like that. They are just starting the process of kind of investigating what that cost would look like. I know people are saying that there was a back and forth between lawmakers and the ABC commission chairman was there to speak on behalf of the commission, basically saying, would this be cheaper for consumers or more expensive? Would the state not have enough money to do what it's supposed to do? Of course, there's a whole lot of back and forth on cost for both government and for the people.
I think cost, and I don't even think this is related, but still know the state budget as we speak.
It actually is related a little bit.
Well, a little related, but I guess a lot of people may ask, like, what is next? I mean, there's not a bill filed. Is there another meeting? Are they going to? They're exploring this. Is this actually like a serious?
I think
thing?
it's pretty serious. I know, like I said, no bill filed yet, and they're not currently in their long session. But I do think the next steps are they're going to definitely talk about it at their next meeting, and they're going to work to get those numbers before so they can present it to people and representatives there. You mentioned, though, no state budget. That's a big piece of this. If this were to happen, the ABC Commission chair did mention that ABC stores do give some of their funds to law enforcement, some that are stationed in those ABC stores to check IDs, to make sure people are doing things safely. They also give money to local departments to help with alcohol checks. So that's a piece of it. If AB stores were to be done away with, that in our state budget, we'd have to allocate more funds to an already kind of underfunded system in general, some would say.
Right.
That's already stretched rather thin to do these alcohol checks to make up for what would be lost by the ABC stores. So lots of different moving pieces of this. At 1:30, I have an interview with the owner of Must Be Nice, a bar in South End, to talk about his perspective on this. I know a couple other bar owners and restaurant owners I kind of just talked to off the record. I haven't obviously talked to this one yet, have said that would make things a lot easier for me. Right now, it's very difficult to get a hold of the alcohol we need every weekend because you have to go through certain avenues. It would make the price go down for us, and hopefully more consumers would come and consume our drinks because we'd be able to lower prices and things like that. That was a big piece of the discussion at this committee meeting. I do think a piece of it that would be interesting to see if this were proposed more formally to the full General Assembly, would that come with a sales tax increase? Representative Kidwell said, to offset some of the funds that we would lose as a state, would we increase the sales tax a little bit to maybe fund things like the law enforcement piece of it that we're missing? So it wouldn't necessarily be a kind of a sweep across the board. Everything's going to be cheaper.
Right.
Of course, there's, with government cuts and efficiency, you find pieces that you still need to fill. So definitely a lot of moving pieces in this, and I'll be curious to see what that formal proposal, if we get there, actually looks like.
Yeah, interesting topic. A lot of moving parts. Like you said, it's not just cut and dry. We eliminate it and things are cheaper. And Julie, before I let you go, what time can folks get your story? Because a lot of questions.
4 and 6, and we'll have not just the meeting sound, but also that interview with Must Be Nice.
Great. Thank you, Julie, covering all things politics. We keep her busy here in the newsroom. You can catch Julie tomorrow. Pretty much all day tomorrow.
Yes.
You're here. She's going to be here on the stream on Live Impact News. So I just wanted to give her.
I'm the last one who's not sick. So hopefully, knock on wood.
Yeah, I'm going to spray down everything. I'm going to set you up nice. All right, Julie, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right, so happening right now, President Donald Trump is having his cabinet meeting, talking about everything from the National Guard deploying in Chicago, crime, in different cities, also the peace deal in Gaza. Let's take a listen in to what's being said.
That required a high degree of intensity and commitment and made this happen. And I think what's important to understand is that yesterday what happened was really a human story. There's a geopolitical aspect to it, there's no doubt about it. It creates the conditions for Gaza to one day be a normal place again and people to have a better life and Israelis to be safe. But yesterday was a human story. And because of the work you put in, and honestly, not only is there no other leader in the world that could have put this together, Mr. President, but frankly, I don't know of any American president in the modern era that could have made this possible because of the actions you have taken unrelated to this and because of who you are and what you've done and how you're viewed. And this weekend, because of that, at some point very soon, we are going to see 20 living human beings emerge from the darkness into the light for the first time in 2 years. And that is because not only were you used the credibility and the power and the prestige of this office and the relationships you created, and you committed yourself to making it happen. And I think it will go down as a historic moment in the history of our country and something our country should be very proud of, that we have a president that's committed to not just peace, but to the human aspect of reuniting these families. My last point on this is just a couple days ago, Secretary Lutnick hosted us all, many of us, at the Kennedy Center. And we have these families, we've interacted with them for so many years, for 2 years now. And the stories are heartbreaking, both whose families are alive and those who are deceased as well, who want their relatives back so that they can complete the process of grieving. And it was, we had all hoped that perhaps that was the day that we would have an announcement for them on the anniversary of the 7th. But I know you were able to speak to some of those families last night. And I just hope the whole nation understands how incredibly proud they should be of their president and of their country for the role that they've played. And I don't want to let this moment pass, Mr. President, without also noting the incredible work of Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner. They're an incredible team working together, facing some substantial impediments to even being there this weekend and doing it. Let me just leave it at that. And they've done a great job on your behalf, Mr. President, and they deserve a tremendous amount of credit. But thank you for what you've done for the world.
Thank you very much, Marco. I appreciate it. I think because we have a very busy day with all that's going on, what we'll do is maybe just a few of you raise your hand if you'd like to say something that don't talk too long, Doug. He's doing such a great job. So good that he could talk all day. That's the problem, right? But, and what we'll do is just take a few hands, and then we'll go back to getting peace done, okay? We'll go a little bit quicker. We'll take a few questions from the press. Go ahead, please.
President Trump, I just want to double down on what Marco was sharing. It's such a remarkable accomplishment. Agree that no other president could have done this, but what set the groundwork for you able to do that? When you took office on January 20th, you made a 180-degree turn in our military strength with Pete's leadership. You were the master class in peace through strength. So militarily, we've completely turned around. We've demonstrated that through execution against Iran and others, that we have force. We want to end wars, but we'll use power if we have to. And then secondarily, peace through strength is also the prosperity, having the strongest economy and being willing to wield the power of a tariff in addition to the military power to reorder the globe. Those two things that you're standing on, both economic power and military power, allowed these negotiations to go forward. And I think as you've described the importance of these economic negotiations and all the trade deals, but that also begins with another 180-degree turn, and that was the 180-degree turn on energy. You have used energy diplomacy to bring prosperity to the American people, and you've used it to bring peace abroad. The combination of those three things have been remarkable, and now we're seeing the remarkable result. And we got one more that I know you want to end with Russia and Ukraine. Energy is going to play a key role in that, and now with this historic agreement, we're in a position working with the Middle East to also end the Russian-Ukraine conflict. So again, congratulations.
Thank you very much, Doug. I appreciate it. Maybe I'll go to you for a second. You can just cap out what he said about the military, how well we're doing, and how big it is, and how strong it is.
Mr. President, you're exactly right. At the War Department, you don't get peace without strength. And our job is to be the strength part of the equation and deliver that when necessary, as you demonstrated with your Order of Midnight Hammer, and the entire world saw. And I just want to echo what Marco said. It is a personal honor to be able to witness the way you lead and negotiate. I wish people had a full understanding of what that looks like, that historic nature. A lot of us vets, the Vice President, Tulsi, Lee, Doug, probably after decades of war and the chaos that was unleashed through reckless and foolish American policies, never thought this kind of peace would be possible. Yet, with your strength, with your ability to wield trade negotiations, personal relationships, to open up that opportunity is truly historic on the world stage. And it creates a whole number of other cascading effects. And watching Marco and the Vice President and Steve and Jared, the CIA director, everybody come together to make it happen. You've formed a phenomenal team, Mr. President. And at the War Department, our job is to make sure if and when there's question about American commitment, the whole world knows we've got the biggest, strongest, most lethal, and most ready War Department in the world, which is true, which is why we saw record recruitment in 2025, Mr. President. The first 2 weeks of 2026 already blows that out. FY 2026 already blows it out of the water. In fact, re-enlistment has already met its year-long goal in the Marine Corps in 2026. 2 weeks. Okay. You can't, there's no other way to create that kind of love and enthusiasm than with your leadership, sir. And it is an honor to work with Pam and with Christy and the cities across the country to make sure American citizens and law enforcement are protected with our National Guard. But that's a core mission. And last thing, Mr. President, on the southwest border, the first group that rotated in to lock down that border to 0 crossings is now rotating out. and with a new border medal, the Southwest Border Medal, or it's actually called the Mexican Border Medal, revived from 1918, that will be pinning on their chest. So thank you for renaming the department, and we're trying to live up to it every day. So thank you, sir.
I mean, think of this. We have record numbers of recruitment. 1 year ago, there were stories, front page stories, that we couldn't get anybody to join the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard. My beautiful, I call it our beautiful Space Force. I love our Space Force. It's turned out to be very important. But we couldn't get anybody to join. Nobody wanted to join, including our police and fire. They didn't want to join anything. Recruitment was embarrassing. We couldn't get anybody. And now we're brimming. Now it's, and they're getting in based on merit now. A soldier's a soldier. They come in now based on merit, not based on woke stuff that anybody can qualify. You have to qualify for jobs. You have to qualify for certain types of jobs. And it's amazing. So we were embarrassed a year ago. Think of it, a little bit more than a year ago. I think it stopped on November 5th. I think it really started, this all started on November 5th, the election day. But now everybody wants to be in. We have an overabundance, and maybe we should raise it a little bit. I don't know.
I like that idea, sir.
But we could raise it. But we have so many people want to join, and they're proud of our country again. JD, could I ask you to say a few words?
Yes, sir. So just a couple of things. Mr. President, first of all, congratulations on yesterday. It was a big day to Marco, to Susie, to the entire team. But in particular, viewing it from this perspective where for months the fake news media attacked you, attacked the entire team, attacked your approach. You know, the definition of insanity is to do the same thing again and again, expecting a different result. The reason we're here is because the president actually charted a different course with a different team. He vested a lot of authority in Steve Witkoff in particular, and that's why we're here. It's because you did something different, and I think it's important to recognize that. I also think the president, you know, Marco mentioned the president's personal touch being a big part of this. The one thing I would say is obviously the president of the United States, a New York real estate billionaire, one of the most famous New Yorkers in the world, has a lot of interaction with a lot of people who are very pro-Israel. I think that was an important set of experiences and life experiences that he brought to the table. He also, of course, knew one of the most famous Palestinians in the world, Chuck Schumer, and I think without that background of knowledge, it would have been impossible to get us to this point. Second thing I want to say, just on Chuck Schumer, the president mentioned this, that Chuck Schumer said this has been very good for us this morning about the shutdown. One of the things that we talked about before all the media came in, and that all of us are going to work on for the rest of the day, we've been working on for days, is how to make the shutdown as painless as possible on the American people. So while Chuck Schumer brags about this being good, and I think the president is right, it's not good for him politically as much as he might think that it is. It's causing real consequences for the American people. There's a low-income food program, the WIC program, that my mom actually used when I was a baby. That program is about to be underfunded, and it's about to get cut off because Chuck Schumer won't open the government. We have troops. The Secretary of War mentioned how well we're doing on recruitment. We're trying to figure out how to pay our troops because Chuck Schumer is shutting down the U.S. government. There are veterans benefits that are going to suffer. There are Americans that are going to suffer because Chuck Schumer refuses to do his job. So while we're all celebrating this incredible success that we've had on the world stage, the country could be doing so much better if Chuck Schumer did his job and opened the government. Every single Republican, except for Rand Paul, has voted to open the government. A few moderate Democrats, to their credit, have voted with us to open the government. We just need 5 more Democrats to come to their senses and let the people's government serve the American people. I hope that they'll do that.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Chris, please.
Yeah, to follow up on that point, Mr. President, the Democrat or Schumer shutdown did not begin 8 or 9 days ago. It began 8 or 9 months ago with your inauguration. For the first time in American history, every Senate confirmed appointee who are our deputies to run our department, every one of them has been filibustered. One of the critical parts of my department is the National Nuclear Security Administration. It maintains, manufactures our nuclear weapons and our engines for nuclear submarines and nuclear aircraft carriers. We are a key supplier to Secretary of War Pete Hegseth. They filibustered, the Democrats filibustered the leader, the administrator of the National Nuclear Security Administration, would not let him come into my department until the Republicans 2 weeks ago changed the Senate rules so they could confirm him and we could have a leader. They filibustered the leadership, now they're filibustering the funding. in the next 6-7 days, we're going to run out of funding, and the retooling of our nuclear stockpile, the ultimate guarantor of our sovereignty, is going to be underfunded, and we're going to have to slow down and creep to a crawl these efforts. Just incredibly irresponsible for Schumer to worry about his own reelection and not the 340 million Americans that count on the efforts of our military and all of our departments. It's truly offensive, and we need to bring it to an end as soon as possible. Let's open the government back up.
And you're doing a great job. Thank you very much. Bobby, did you want to say something? You got a lot of things happening.
A lot of things.
A lot of very positive things, actually.
Mr. President, I'm glad you're getting bipartisan accolades on the Mideast Peace Agreement. You should also get bipartisan accolades on the MFN agreement. It is a historic agreement that's going to benefit every hardworking American. It's going to lower the price of drugs for every American. By the time this administration is over, we will have 95% of the drugs in this country will be the lowest price in the world. It immediately begins to affect Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security, the other government programs. I remember when I went through the confirmation process, and the principal preoccupation of the Democrats during that process was whether I would continue the IRA negotiations on drugs. The Democrats negotiated 10 drugs. I'm supposed to negotiate every year 15. The 10 that they negotiated, they claimed to get a 22% reduction, but it was a lie. It was 22% under the list price, which was actually higher than the price we were getting. So Medicaid, Medicare ended up paying more for those drugs than they were paying beforehand. They only got a benefit on one drug. One was tied. 8 of them were lower. So they should be applauding what we're doing now. We're doing something that every administration, Democrat and Republican, has been saying that it was going to do for decades, and you got it done because you understood the power of the tariffs. That we had leverage over these companies. And you did it in a way which you asked us to do, to negotiate in a way that was not going to stifle innovation, that was going to make sure that those companies could bring their production home, and they are doing that. And it was a profound success. It will affect every American for 100 years. And you should be getting bipartisan accolades on that. I'll say one other thing about Tylenol, only because of this. This morning before I came in here, somebody showed me a TikTok video of a pregnant woman, 8 months pregnant. She is an associate professor at the Columbia Medical School. And she is saying F Trump and gobbling Tylenol with her baby in her placenta. And the level of Trump derangement syndrome has now left the political landscapes, and it is now in the realm of pathology. And a mother could overwhelm millions of years of maternal instinct to put her baby at risk. And all you have to do is look at the studies which you and I talked about. It's not dispositive that causes autism. It is so suggestive that anybody who takes this stuff during pregnancy, unless they have to, is irresponsible. There are 15 rodent studies. Every one of them shows if you give it to the mother, the babies, and particularly the male babies, have profound neurological and behavioral changes. There is a study from Johns Hopkins on cord blood where they divided women into 3 categories: those who had the least acetaminophen in their cord blood, and those who had the most. The ones with the most had 3.6 times the rate of autism in their children. The middle category had 2.2 times, so it's a dose-related response. And there are dozens of studies that show the countries that use the most have the highest level of autism. Cuba has the lowest level in the world of acetaminophen use, and it has the lowest autism rate in the world. So this is not dispositive. It is not proof. We're doing the studies to make the proof. But in the meantime, the precautionary principle should apply, and any mother who is taking this stuff during pregnancy just to get back at Donald Trump is doing something that is pathological. And we're seeing that across the board. I got a lot of other stuff to talk about, but I know we got a short time here. But thank you, Mr. President. You're making our country healthier again.
Thank you, Bobby. Could you just say, for the record, state what the autism was, let's say, 20 years ago and what it is today?
In 1970, the largest epidemiological study in history was performed. 900,000 kids were looked at. They were looking for autism in Wisconsin children. They looked at every child in Wisconsin who was 8 years old. They found an autism rate of 0.7 per 10,000. So almost close to 1 in 20,000, less than 1 in 10,000. Today, the autism rates are nationally 1 in 31, but it's actually much worse than that because California, which has the best collection system, reports an autism rate of 1 in every 19 children, 1 in every 12.5 boys. This is a national security issue. There is nothing more important, and I'm grateful to you, Mr. President, because you know the flack that you take for talking about this issue. You've shown courage and you've shown leadership, and I can't thank you enough for letting me do this work.
Thank you. So think of that, 1 in 20,000, and now it's 1 in 12 for boys, 1 in 18, 19 for girls. So obviously there's something that's artificially, I think, induced, something, whether it's the vaccines in terms of these massive vaccines that are twice the size of a jar like that, of a glass of water like that, I mean, into a baby's body. And I've suggested get them in doses, get them in, maybe 20%, 30%, but smaller, not such a big. I think, that. Then we had certain recommendations, the MMR, take them separately. The measles is already separate now, and it works out much better, but there doesn't seem to be any impact if you take it separately. If you take it as a combination, it's not so great. And some other things, but I would say don't take Tylenol if you're pregnant, and when the baby is born, don't give it Tylenol. You can avoid it at all, just don't give it Tylenol.
I'll say this.
Really,
also.
what do you have to lose? You really don't have much to lose. Yeah, go ahead.
There's also there's many other confirmation studies. There's 2 studies that showed children who are circumcised early have double the rate of autism. And it's highly likely because they're given Tylenol. So, none of this is just positive, but all of it is stuff that we should be paying attention to.
Yeah.
But, there's a tremendous amount of proof or evidence, I would say, as a non-doctor, but I've studied this a long time ago. I met Bobby in my office 20 years ago. We were talking about the same thing 20 years ago. And I was a real estate developer. It bothered me that it seemed to be getting worse, but it's so bad now when you hear these numbers. It's not even really sustainable. I don't know how people do it, but there is some very strong evidence on Tylenol. In fact, at one point, I guess the company gave a warning.
They still don't recommend it during pregnancy. That's the weird thing.
They're not recommending it, and that's the company itself. So just don't take it. Don't take it. If you're a woman, don't take it, and don't give it to the baby when the baby's born, and I think that's going to have an impact. But I'd also get the shots in smaller doses. There are a few things, we gave a few things that just seem to be, and I think you'd get that number way back up. Think of it. You have 1 in 20,000, and now it's not even believable when you think that 20,000 drops to 12 children. So that's induced by something that's given or taken, and it should be able to be stopped. And you're talking about the Pennsylvania Dutch, you were talking about the Amish, where they don't take any of this stuff, and they have virtually none, right? They have no autism. So we're doing something very bad. Somebody's been given some bad things. Other countries, by the way, we have 82 vaccines that we give simultaneously. And I'm a vaccine believer, by the way. I believe in the polio vaccine. I believe in a lot of vaccines. But when you give 82 vaccines in a shot to a little baby that hasn't even formed yet, It's a lot of vaccines. And in Japan, they give a much smaller number. In Germany, they give a much smaller, like 28 vaccines. It's a lot too, but 28 is a lot different than 82. So, but I would say on the Tylenol, don't take it, and that will be. I think it's going to be a big factor. I think it'll be a very good result, and I hope we're going to be able to see that result in the not too distant future. Because certainly, people have heard us loud and clear. That's why I bring it up again. That's why I asked you to talk about it, because this is a horrible thing, and if you don't take it, I mean, you have to tough it through sometimes. There are other things you can do, but you have to tough it out. It's easy for me to say, but I think you're going to see numbers that will be it'll be so significantly improved, and maybe fully improved. I mean, there's something there. There's something going on, and we have to address it. And so I'm addressing it the best I can as a non-doctor, but I'm a man of common sense. Okay, any other questions?
I'd like to comment on the
Yeah,
workforce.
please.
Mr. President, a lot of people are calling to give you the Nobel Peace Prize after this peace deal that you managed to achieve in the Middle East. First of all, your opinion on that, and I was wondering about your trip to the Middle East, if you can tell us if you're considering to speak at the Knesset, at the Israeli parliament.
Well, they asked me to speak at the Knesset, and I've agreed to. If they would like me to, I will do it. It's the first time a president has ever done that, so that makes it very interesting, right?
Yeah, of
But
course.
yeah, so I will do it if they want me to. They have asked me to do that. Thank you.
Families of hostages are out in the streets in Israel dancing and crying tears
They're
of
all
joy.
dancing in the streets right now. They're dancing in the streets. They're so happy. Everybody's happy. They're dancing in the streets of Arab countries, Muslim countries. I've never seen anything like it. Everybody is happy. It's been really amazing. Thank you.
President Trump, on the international peacekeeping force that's going to deploy to Gaza soon, do you expect that Pakistan, Turkey, other countries to contribute forces? Has that become firmed up? And also on the shutdown, it seems like in the House there's a majority support for a temporary extension of the Obamacare subsidies, perhaps minus the funds for illegal immigrants. Is that how you see the deal to end the shutdown happening?
Well, I see the deal just getting extended as we continue to talk, but we're willing to pay because we're paying. It's very simple. We're paying. And the Democrats are the ones that caused this problem. And it's a big problem for them, and they have a lot of break in their ranks. But so I see that, I think that'll get worked out. But we want to get back before we do this. We don't want to have a gun held to our head. We don't like that. And the public doesn't like it either. So we want to get back. And I think it's going to work out. I think it's going to work out very well. It's something that shouldn't have happened. This was supposed to take place before the election. This was supposed to take place on September 28th before the election. We shouldn't even be talking about this right now. This is actually something that shouldn't have even happened. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, looking ahead, what guarantees Hamas disarms and that Israel doesn't resume bombing once the hostages
Well,
are
the first
released?
thing we're doing is getting our hostages back, okay? And that's what people wanted more than anything else. They wanted these hostages back that have lived in hell like nobody has ever even dreamt possible. And after that, we'll see. But they've agreed to things, and I think it's going to move along pretty well.
But what is phase two? When does it
I'm not
begin?
going to talk about that because you sort of know what phase two is, but there will be disarming, there will be pullbacks, there will be a lot of things that are happening. I gave you a whole list of 22 different things that will take place. And I think it'll take place, and I think you're going to end up with peace in the Middle East. But we have to get our hostages back. And we weren't going to do it at the end. We're going to do it at the beginning. We said we want them at the beginning. We're not doing it. We got the hostages back. We did, as a group, with Steve and Jared and Marco and me and all of us. We got the hostages back. We got many of them back. Many, unfortunately, were dead. But we got many back that are now living with their families, with their parents in many cases, and with their husbands, families, wives. Many of them, they celebrate all over. They're the ones that are celebrating the loudest. They're all over. There are a lot of them that we got out. But the last 20, and I always said the last ones are going to be the most difficult. But it's been a very big deal getting the hostages out. But the rest is going to take place too.
And can you promise Palestinians they will be able to stay?
Well, they know exactly what we're doing. We're going to create something where people can live. You can't live right now in Gaza. The place is it's a horrible situation. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. So yeah, we're going to create better conditions for people.
All right, so you're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. Carlene is also here in studio. Right now, you're watching live there as President Donald Trump holds his cabinet meeting there. So we're going to take a step away from that, and we're going to head to break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. Carlene is also here in studio. So we want to get to a story that we've been following extensively, especially over the last couple of months, and especially since that tragic murder of Irina Zarisco on Charlotte Light Rail. And a lot of the conversation is centered around safety, especially on public transit. So we're approaching the middle of October, believe it or not, and right now we are about a month into new safety operations that Mayor Vilaus announced about a month ago. WCNC Charlotte's Jesse Pierre is following the story for us. Again, Jesse, it's been a month since she put out this press release stating these changes and what they hope to do to make cats safer. Any progress? What can you tell us?
Hey guys, so I'm here at the East-West Station stop. This is where the tragedy happened here late August when Irina Zarisco was deadly stabbed to death, unfortunately. There is still a memorial out here for her with photos and flowers, and there's a little note that says continue to add to this memorial in her honor and some pictures and so forth. And when the incident happened, it caused a lot of outrage and a lot of folks asking city leaders to step in, step up, and make sure that crime like this is not something we see on our trains and our red line and throughout the community. And City of Charlotte Mayor Vilaus put out a statement saying right away that there would be a deployment of bike patrols and security and fare check folks to check fares and so forth, and that that has been a big message throughout. And for weeks, really, we've seen so many different press conferences. We've seen so many different meetings with CATS and city leaders talking about the different things they will do to step security up and make sure that folks who are using public transportation feel safe. Now, right when it happened, you know, I was here and you can feel the extra security, right? Right when the trains opened, folks came out and they had their vests and they were, hey, you know, checking for tickets and etc. And so there's still a level of that feeling, but it just feels a little lighter. I will say that I saw bike patrols pass me twice. There were 2 rounds of bike patrols where I saw 3 officers on bikes pass by. And I spoke to a couple of folks who are riding the trains, and they tell me they feel it's been pretty consistent. So today, the gentleman I spoke to, I asked if his fare was checked today. He said no, but he says the last 3 days it has been checked, And I also had reached out to CAS to see like how many fare evasion citations they've given out. It's been over 1,800 since the start of this year. I think just over 1,860 this year so far. And so they told me that, their security team and so forth are deployed in different areas throughout the entire system. You can't guarantee that someone's going to be in a specific train the entire time or a specific vehicle train. But from what I'm getting from riders, that there is a consistent feel that security level has gone up. Now, when it comes to do they want to see more or so forth, I got a sense that they're liking that it is at least consistently more, than compared to before the tragic incident where they didn't see any. And so I asked folks, well, do you feel safe, with this? And they, the general feeling was they do feel safer just seeing the elevated efforts, and they do want that to at least stay around, So that was kind of the sense that I got today. Nick?
Yeah, and it's one of those things, this is an ever-evolving situation as far as security and how they apply it, and the conversations continue with that. Jesse, again, has been following this extensively for a while now. Jesse, thank you for your time. You can get Jesse at 5 and 6 o'clock this evening on WCNC Charlotte and over here on WCNC Plus. Jesse, thank you for your time. Be safe out there. All right, so we want to go back now to President Donald Trump's cabinet meeting. It is still going on, talking about everything from, they mentioned vaccines. They also talked about the peace plan there in Gaza, which was announced yesterday. Let's take a listen into what's being said at this moment.
But would you just talk about how Biden let us down? Biden, every single thing, every problem the farmer has is because Biden didn't do anything for 4 years. Go ahead.
No, I think that's right. This president has been unequivocal in his support of the farmers. First of all, in term one, we worked on it so hard and opened up markets, but especially this term. But here's what everyone has to understand. The farm economy is in a very uncertain time. But that isn't because of the current trade negotiations, although certainly the China part is part of that. But we inherited a slew of issues. First of all, as the president said, when we left Trump 1, we had an agriculture trade surplus. When we came back for Trump 2, it was a $50 billion ag deficit. That isn't everything, that's just agriculture. The second part is the cost of inputs for our farmers increased on average between 30 and 38%, but that includes fertilizer, it includes fuel, it includes interest rates, it includes labor. All of this came about under Joe Biden, a 47% increase in the cost of labor that now Secretary Chavez-DeRimmer and Noam and I are working on. Fuel is coming down, thank you. Interest rates, thankfully, are coming down to 73% increase in interest rates for our farmers. They couldn't get loans to make sure that they could move forward. So that's all really, really important, and I think we have to realize what the president's commitment is this, that we are moving into an era of rural prosperity, of a golden age for our farmers in rural America. The trade renegotiations and the trade realignment that Jameson and Scott and Howard have led with the president's leadership is unlike anything that's happened in the history of our country. And those that will benefit the most are the original Americans, our farmers and our ranchers. The president has committed, if we need a bridge, he has talked about that to get us from the Biden years to the new Trump era. That's what we're working on every day. We've got to get the government reopened so that we can move forward on that, and once we do, we'll be able to move out a significant program to help our farmers. Long term, we have to change this hamster wheel of government. We've got to ensure that the farmers have the market to sell, and it's a national security issue and onshoring a lot of the food as well.
Okay,
So, sir, thank you.
Thank you, everybody. I think that's enough.
Thank you, Let's go. Thank you.
The country is doing very well. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you. Are you still open to go? Thank you. Thank you. Let's go, guys. Thanks, guys. Let's go. Head out, guys. Thank you. Thank you. Right this way. Thanks, guys. Grab the camera. We can come back. You head out.
Of course. Check them out. Come on.
All right, welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. Carlene and I are here in studio, chugging along, both kind of, getting over some crud right now.
A little bit,
but we are chugging along. A lot happening this afternoon. We kind of felt a dose of fall this morning, but they're really about to start feeling like fall in a couple of days.
We're told it's beautiful outside. There's no window in here, and I haven't been outside.
I got a chance to look outside. It looks beautiful. I haven't got a chance to
Jesse shot the background.
Outside.
It looked very nice.
I haven't got a chance to step outside.
Right.
But I'll take their word for it.
Yeah.
And take our word for it. Let's check in with meteorologist Majestic Storm for a full look at our forecast.
Well, good Thursday afternoon, everyone. I'm meteorologist Majestic Storm, and boy, does that cold front feel nice. It passed through yesterday, and now back behind it, we have an absolutely stunning day. You can see blowing rock all morning long, and this afternoon has been busy. Lots of people getting out and enjoying the mountains. They are all decorated and ready for fall with pumpkins, and even look at that, Mother Nature showing off some of the trees, already starting to change colors. Few things to know is that most of us, we all get to sit back, relax, and enjoy some sunshine today. Get outside and enjoy it. I mean, it is beautiful. It is going to be cooler today with temperatures only rising into the 70s. That'll be a much needed break from that warmth and humidity. Little breezy today, windy this weekend, still staying pretty mild. And then next week, we do have the return of some 80-degree temperatures. So I don't think fall's quite here yet, but we'll take a brief break. Yesterday, we topped off at 85 degrees. It was warm, it was muggy, and today's going to be nice, only 72 degrees for our high. Throughout the afternoon, whether you want to get outside for your lunch break or maybe even around dinner time, we'll hold on to clear conditions, comfortable temperatures, low 70s. It'd be the best day to really head out to the park if you want to take the kids there after school today. And then you can see it is going to be a little breezy. Northeasterly winds. They start to pick up today, and you'll notice them becoming steady even as we're heading into the weekend. weekend. Some of those winds gusting around 20 to 25 miles an hour. So if you're heading to the golf course, you want to go play some pickleball, maybe you want to go for a bike ride, yes, those winds will be out there. Very comfortable temperatures though. Comfortable today, even nicer as we're heading into our Friday. Look at that, low 70s, and then look at this gradual warming trend. Low 80-degree temperatures, they'll return as we're heading into the middle to end of next week. But look at these lows. Friday morning, I'm not kidding you, we're going to be starting out the day with upper 40s to around 50-degree temperatures. So that drop in temperatures, yeah, it's nice if you like that cool weather, but it's really that big drop in humidity that's making it feel crisp. And those cool overnight lows, they'll be persistent even this weekend. So might be a good weekend to have a bonfire, maybe have some chili. Nonetheless, open up your windows, let in that nice cool air. Rain chances may return Saturday, Sunday, only a 20% chance. Not a whole lot, but here's the deal. I'm going to break this down for you. Futurecast into the later evening hours, not looking bad. Friday, we're calling for partly sunny skies, but notice those northeasterly winds, again, capable of gusting around 20 to 25 miles an hour. We're watching a coastal low, and it depends on how well westward it moves, and that'll be dependent upon whether or not we get this rain. Here's Saturday at 7 a.m. Notice a lot of the rain staying mainly east of Charlotte. Again, I think that this forecast is going to change as we get a little closer into the weekend. So again, enjoy it. We have the stalled front that's going to start to interact with this area of low pressure. This is going to become our coastal low that will bring some problems up and down the coast of the Carolinas, especially the Outer Banks. We're talking about Saturday, Sunday, straight into Monday. Overwash 3 to 5 feet along Highway 12 will be possible with winds up to 50 miles an hour. The more inland you are, the less you will be impacted, but really stay close to our weather team this weekend. We'll be following that very carefully for you. And then we do have Tropical Storm Jerry still forecasted to turn into a hurricane, but still forecasted to turn off to the north and to the east, which means it'll stay away from the United States. Speaking of Jerry, here's our Jerry Hunt Supercenter 7-day forecast. Sunny skies today, low 70s, very comfortable for our Friday, and not a bad looking weekend weather forecast either.
All right, so that's a look at our full forecast. We are full in effect when it comes to fall. All right, so let's get to something that's happening live. It's happening virtually, but it's very important. So the Department of Public Health in South Carolina confirming the 9th and 10th case of measles in Spartanburg County. Also, they're launching a web page to update the public on the outbreak. Again, the South Carolina Department of Public Health has confirmed 2 additional cases of measles related to the ongoing outbreak there in Spartanburg County. That's in the upstate area of the state. Let's take a listen in to what's being said right now.
Do we know, just a couple of things, do we know where the Greenville County case originated as of yet? And is the DPH going to recommend any booster vaccines or any of these sort of vaccines, extra shots to help protect kids who may be more vulnerable to infections, such as children with special needs or medical conditions?
We are still currently investigating the case that was just reported to us, so we don't have additional information about that. Booster doses for the MMR vaccine are actually not recommended. So beyond the schedule, the recommended schedule that I provided, that children receive their first dose of the vaccine at 12 to 15 months of age and a second dose at 4 to 6 months of age, offers about 97% of the people who receive the recommended 2 doses lifelong immunity. And for that reason, unless there are some special circumstances, booster doses are not recommended for the MMR vaccine. A special circumstance might be that if someone has only had 1 dose and they may be traveling to an area where there's a high degree of transmission, they should consult with their healthcare provider and look at the travel advisories to make a decision as to whether or not a second dose might be indicated for someone who might have inadequate immunity and is traveling to an area with known high degree of transmission.
Lauren, go ahead with your question.
Hagan, are you at all concerned about compliance among parents or school leaders in terms of working with DPH to contain this? Are you worried, for example, that there could be unreported cases out there
So
because of skepticism, for example, among families who may be reluctant to interact with the health department?
Well, sure. Well, first of all, with regards to the schools, we know that the schools are very invested in preventing disease transmission in their facilities. And so we very much appreciate the school's cooperation with our guidance to help us identify cases in the school and to work with us so that we understand where any case that has been confirmed has been in the school setting, as I've mentioned, classroom schedules, activities, airspace. And so we do heavily rely on the school's cooperation with providing us all the information that we need to track where this virus may have occurred and who it may have exposed. As far as the families, we provide.
All right, so you're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sertivant. Carlene Bragg is here in studio with me right now. So you're watching a virtual meeting underway, giving us an update on the measles outbreak there in South Carolina, Spartanburg County, to be specific. They're dealing with that. They have 2 additional cases that were announced yesterday. We'll try to get back to that. That's a very important story there, as folks there. That's a public health concern. All right, so we want to get to something that's happening this weekend in Charlotte. So we have a big event happening in Charlotte at Central Piedmont Community College. It's called the We Are Public Schools Summit. It's a chance for parents, students, educators, advocates from across the state to come together and really dive in to what's happening when it comes to public schools here in North Carolina. Again, a big topic. Covering North Carolina for the better part of 10 years is always a big deal when it comes to public schools. It's always a big topic. There are always concerns. There's always issues. I want to get now to Tamika Walker-Kelly, president of the North Carolina Association of Educators. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Let's get right to it. So I gave a brief summary of the We Are Public Schools Summit, but talk to us about this summit and also how did this come together?
Well, we are excited as NCAE to co-host the We Are Public School Summit with a number of other community organizations across the state. And it is, as you said, Nick, is to bring together parents, educators, students, community supporters, and advocates who really want to talk about all of the things that are happening in our North Carolina public schools. We know that there are many great things happening in our public schools, but there are very real challenges that affect the work of public school educators and the academic journeys of our students every single day. And so we want to pull together this summit, especially during this time when we are talking a lot about public schools on the state level and on the federal level, to really give everyone a chance to have a deeper look at those issues and learn how they can get involved to advocate for better public schools.
Yeah, it's gonna be a big event, and I guess I want to ask on a professional and personal level, what are you looking forward to seeing, hearing from Saturday? Because they're breakout events. Also, Superintendent Mo Green is going to be there as well. But what are you looking forward to hearing and seeing?
You know, as a public school parent and a public school educator, I am really looking forward to the intersection of those roles in this public school summit that we are hosting, and really, especially trying to help our parents understand some of the inner workings of how public schools operate and really take ownership as one of the many important stakeholders in our public schools to really be able to talk to their elected officials and to talk to other community members who may not know a lot about public schools, but know they want to be involved and know that they care about them, but just haven't found a way to advocate for the things that students and educators need.
I got a chance to work in the Raleigh-Durham area. I worked in the Greensboro area. Look, I'm a product of Guilford County schools, so I'm a public school baby. And I feel like I hear some of the same stories from even my time in school that my mom expressed, and my friends' parents have expressed. I guess now. What are the stories are you hearing? What are the concerns and what are the issues are you hearing from families and educators?
I hear lots of stories, both positive and negative. I hear stories from parents and educators about how their students are growing this year with additional supports that they receive in the classroom and small group attention. But I also know that many people, not just educators, but parents and community members, are concerned around the challenges that are facing our public schools right now. We see chronic underfunding, trying to privatize our public schools by taking dollars out of our public schools and giving them to private school vouchers, and also policies that try to divide the real positive relationships that parents and educators both have. And so one of the things that we aim to do with this summit this weekend is we want to reclaim our shared power as community advocates, as parents, and as educators to make sure that we continue to uplift what unites us around public schools so that we can make sure that we advocate for well-funded, equitable public schools here in our state.
I mentioned this earlier. Superintendent Mo Green will be there. I have the pleasure of, and thank you for the invite. I have the pleasure of getting to have a conversation with Superintendent Green. What is that? It's a two-part question. What do you want to hear from him, and what does it mean for community members, for families, for students, for educators to be there in obviously we have this conversation, but I'm sure they're going to come up to him and ask him questions and talk to him. What does that mean for them?
Yes, so we are glad that you and Superintendent Mo Green will be having a candid conversation about our public schools. And so from the lens of an educator and a parent, I definitely want to hear from our superintendent how he continues to want to use the DPI strategic plans to continue to uplift the work of public schools and also to build upon the great work that they do every day. And then ultimately for our attendees who are coming, we know that people have questions about student test scores, and they have questions about resources, and they have questions about things they hear in the news about public schools funding, teacher pay, the ability to read diverse books and authors. And so we want to be proactive and create a forum where people get to ask those questions, but also not only get answers to those questions, but how to share that information with other people in their community as well.
So what you're saying, I got a lot of pressure on me to ask some of these these big questions.
It's a big exam coming up and you got to ace it. So I think you'll do a good job, though.
I appreciate you having faith in me. Have you, I guess before I get you out of here, you've been so generous with your time. Have you been able to take a beat? I know this is a big event. You have a lot of moving pieces. You're going to be working up until the start of the event. Have you been able to take a breath at all?
We work hard every day for our public school educators and our students because they deserve the best that we can give them. And so we will be working up until Saturday morning to ensure that this summit goes off very well because we want everybody to walk away empowered and knowledgeable about the things that they can do to really shape the future of public schools here in North Carolina. So we are so excited to invite anyone who wants to come out to this event, but we also want people to bring a friend, bring a colleague, bring a neighbor, bring a student too, because this conversation is going to shape the future of our students here in North Carolina.
Yeah, you don't want to miss the event, I'm sure. And I know folks are going to learn a lot. It's a great opportunity to really dive into what's happening and tap into what's happening into our public schools. Again, the We Are Public Schools Summit in Charlotte this Saturday, October the 11th from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. So whatever you got planned, just mark that off the calendar. Come to the event. Learn a lot, have a good time. You get to meet elected officials. You get to meet other parents, students, educators, advocates within North Carolina. It is happening at Central Piedmont Community College. Thank you for your time. Thank you. And I look forward to see you on Saturday. Tamika Walker-Kelly, President of North Carolina Association of Educators. Thank you for stopping by.
Thank you, and I look forward to seeing you there.
I'll see you soon. You don't want to miss this event. Again, it is a great opportunity to learn more and really just kind of get your arms around what's happening within public schools and what's next. So yeah, a great event there, and I look forward to being there and seeing everybody there who comes out. And if you see me, just say hey. Don't be afraid, just say hey. All right, so let's take a quick break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. All right, welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. All right, so moments before we got on the stream, Governor Josh Stein spoke. So he's in Greenville, North Carolina, so Eastern North Carolina, talking about mental health investments. So Governor Stein is touring the integrated family services in Greenville following his signing of House Bill 307. Governor Stein continues in his continued to advocate for more public and broader public safety initiatives, including investment into mental health. So again, he had a press conference before we got onto the stream. In case you missed it, we want to take you back now to that press conference.
Thank you, Sheriff Dance, for your words. Thank you for your leadership and recognition about the urgency of our adequately responding to people's health care needs, including their mental health care needs. Senator Smith, Representative Brown, District Attorney Dixon, thank you all for being here very much. Thank you for the service you provide the people of Pitt County. Natasha Hawley here, Integrated Family Services, thank you for hosting us. Thank you for the tour. But most importantly, thank you for offering this service to the people of Pitt County. There are so many people, so many families who experience somebody having a crisis and they need to be stabilized. This is a place where they can come and get that stabilization that they desperately need so that they can then be assessed and connected to whatever service they need in order to have long-term success. I'm so excited about the work that you do with mobile crisis care, co-responder services, school-based therapy, and of course this behavioral health urgent care center. The clinic is doing a lot to help people in Eastern North Carolina. They're taking care of people's health. At the same time, they are making Eastern North Carolinians safer. Here in North Carolina, we've recently suffered two prominent tragic reminders of just how important it is that we do everything in our power to get treatment to people who need it with serious mental illness. Our hearts ache for the families of Irina Zarutska and Charlotte and the 3 victims who died in Southport. Of course, we're all immensely relieved that everyone else who was shot has since been released from the hospital. The senseless murders raise real concerns for people all over the state. We all know that the vast majority of people with mental health challenges pose no risk to anyone other than potentially themselves. But we also know that some can. There are too many people in our communities with dangerous obsessions, exhibiting threatening behaviors, who do pose risks to others. Everyone deserves to be and to feel safe in their daily lives, whether it's on their way to work, at church, in their neighborhood, at their kids' school, in their home. And people dealing with serious mental health challenges similarly deserve to have access to health care so that they have the best chance to live healthy, productive lives. We can and must do more to get people well and to keep people safe. Last week I signed a bill meant to bring us closer to that goal. The bill, however, does not go far enough. Both of the people who committed these terrible acts of violence were suffering from serious mental health crises. If our mental health care system fails to serve people when they need it, then we are failing to properly care for the well-being and safety not only of them, but of all the people of this state. According to the National Association of Mental Illness, 1.8 million North Carolina adults live with a mental illness. Now, understand the overwhelming majority, vast majority of those people don't pose risks to others, but they are still not well. And in recent years, on a bipartisan basis, we've made some real progress when it comes to treating mental illness. In fact, this facility is an outgrowth of a bipartisan partnership to address mental health needs of North Carolinians. But we know it's not enough. House Bill 307 didn't put any new money towards mental health or behavioral health treatment, money that would help us to turn the tide. In the coming weeks, I'll lay out a comprehensive mental health plan, but we know there are things that we should and can do right now. And to start, the General Assembly must fully fund Medicaid when they come back to Raleigh in a week and a half. Medicaid is the largest payer in the country for mental health and substance use disorder services. It helps people with mental health conditions see a therapist and afford psychiatric prescriptions. In short, it is a lifeline. The General Assembly must fund Medicaid now. The 2 chambers, the House and the Senate, refuse to come to an agreement to this point. They agree that more money is needed. They agree how much money is needed. Their disagreements that have kept them from coming to the deal have nothing to do with Medicaid. It's time for them to put the people's health and all of our safety ahead of their political disputes. Send me a bill and I will sign it in October. Second, we need to improve our response when mental health and public safety cross each other. It includes getting people who need it treatment when they first interact with law enforcement. This is called diversion. Get people whose real issue is mental health and not criminal justice out of the criminal justice system and into the healthcare system where they can get treated and become well. There are some positive provisions in Irina's law to accomplish just this. It also includes what happens while people are incarcerated. This is a moment, it's actually a moment of opportunity to treat people's underlying conditions, whether it's mental health or substance use disorder. And then we want to help them re-enter successfully when they leave jail or prison. There are so many opportunities throughout the criminal justice system when we could just step back and say, hey, this person needs a service. People working at all stages of the criminal justice process need more training and more tools so that they can help make sure that those mental health evaluations take place. Natasha said, we all see people in our community who need help. We just need to take that moment to intervene to try to connect them to the services that they need. And of course, we have to have adequate treatment options for people once we've identified those issues. This crisis center is going to be one of those critical options. Think about someone having a crisis. When someone's having a psychiatric emergency, it can be incredibly overwhelming for their loved ones. We need to make sure that our crisis system is prepared to get them connected to treatment. Integrated Family Services Mobile Crisis Team is a great example of what that can look like. The team is available 24/7 to travel to people who are experiencing crises and connect them to the help and support that they need. Once the experts have assessed the situation, they can provide telehealth or in-person support. The mobile crisis team model works and needs to be expanded statewide to get families the help that they desperately need and to reduce risks to the general public. We need more acute beds to deal with severely ill people who must be hospitalized. Here's a tragedy. The state has over 900 critical care beds, but we're only using about 550 of them. Why is that? Because we do not have enough staff to support the beds and the services that are required. 300 beds where we could be providing people care who desperately need it are sitting empty because we cannot hire and keep the staff. Let's make these jobs much better paid and more attractive so that we can ramp up the state's capacity to meet the needs of our people. Next, we need to make sure that people receive treatment that they need while they're incarcerated. The majority of people in custody in our state have mental health or substance use issues. Sheriff, what would you estimate in your jail? What percentage of people have either a mental health or substance use challenge?
I would estimate around 80 to 85%.
So this isn't a jail. It's a mental health hospital that's incredibly expensive for the public to support. How about we treat the underlying condition that has led to the criminal behavior so that they don't commit the crimes anymore, so that we're all safer and we're saving money at the same time. While folks are in prison, that is the time to connect them to the services and treatment that they need to be set up for success when they get out of prison, because here's the thing, 95% of people in prison get out. 95% of people who are in our prisons will be out at some point. What do you want? Do you want them to be successful, productive, contributing members of society when they get out, or do you want them to go back to a life of crime? We want them to succeed for themselves, of course, but honestly, selfishly, we want them to succeed for us. If people find door after door closed to them when they get out, they will be much more likely to end up doing whatever it was that got them in trouble in the first place. So let's instead open doors of opportunity. There's so many ways that we can support people after incarceration. Supporting them as they find a job, housing, health care, transportation. Without these basic supports, successful reentry becomes so much more difficult. And the risk of repeat crime that affects all of us increases, making us less safe. So let's invest in reentry and treat it like a public safety investment, just like Arena's law that we passed 2 weeks ago. It is time for us to get real about public safety and take meaningful action that will make a difference. Let's roll up our sleeves, actually tackle the tough issues that we know matter, and put in place effective solutions to make North Carolina families safer. Let's get to work. And I want to offer one final word, that tomorrow is World Mental Health Day. This is a great opportunity for us to let all of your viewers know that if you or a loved one is struggling, there are services that exist to help you. Call 988, ask for help. It's there on the other end of the phone. Thank you. Happy for any of the three of us to take questions at this time.
I have a question. So you say that you really want to invest in re-entry. That's kind of the whole point of this. Who's investing in the plan? What is this funding looking like? Where are we getting it from?
Yeah, well, we will need to have state support for a lot of it. I will be working with the legislature. We're going to come up with a comprehensive public safety plan. Some of the items don't require dollars. Some of the items will require dollars, and we will have it all laid out for the General Assembly's consideration.
In regards to rural areas in eastern North Carolina, but also all across North Carolina, healthcare facilities can sometimes be sparse, and sometimes the most affected by mental health struggles are those in rural areas. What in the bipartisan plan and works relates to rural mental health?
We've actually seen an expansion of some services over the last couple of years in rural mental health care, attributable to a couple things. One is this bipartisan agreement that I described that helped to fund this facility. That was an outgrowth of the fact that we expanded Medicaid in North Carolina. On a bipartisan basis, Republicans and Democrats came together arm in arm to expand Medicaid. Today, 680,000 of our neighbors have health insurance who did not before. Disproportionately, those folks live in rural North Carolina. Because folks have a means to pay for care, that now that they have health insurance, more providers are coming to rural North Carolina. That is why it is a travesty that the General Assembly has not fully funded Medicaid, because they have not. Rates for providers have been cut. Many of these providers are operating on the thinnest of margins. So the legislature is now making it harder. It's counterproductive. If we want to have more health care in rural North Carolina, they have to fully fund Medicaid when they come back in October.
You mentioned there's been several instances of mental health leading to violence. Even in Dare County, I think a woman was shot by a police because she came at him with a knife. And that was just the day before you signed the bill. So what do you think it will take to get the mental health system really back on track in North Carolina?
Well, there are so many different things that we need to do, one of which to deal with that situation in Dare County. I don't know the specifics, and maybe nothing could have been done to prevent what occurred, but there are co-responder models, and this organization, Integrated Family Services, does this in conjunction with Greenville Police. When a call comes to 911 and it's clear that it's somebody experiencing mental health crisis, the police will go to ensure that the situation is safe, but Integrated Family Services will go with a counselor who can respond and help de-escalate that situation, because we don't want a tragedy of somebody being killed because they pose a threat to someone else. If we can lower the temperature and de-escalate, maybe we could then connect that person to mental health care facility services that will make a difference in their lives.
Directing your attention to Section B1 of Irina's law, it requires law enforcement to transport violent suspects directly to an emergency department or a crisis facility. How attainable is that, especially for places like ECU Health, where their emergency department is serving 3 or 4 counties? What's the drain on law enforcement, and what's the impact on our rural hospitals?
These are very legitimate concerns, and we have to closely monitor what the impacts are to ensure that we're not essentially stopping the ability of our emergency departments to serve the general public. Because if all the beds get filled up with people in mental health crises, then people who have a broken arm or a heart attack may not be able to be served. So it is a legitimate concern. One of the reasons why we want this behavioral care urgent center, the Behavioral Health Urgent Care Center, to open is because this would be, under the law, a suitable place for Greenville PD or Pitt County Sheriff to take a person for that evaluation. So we want to have more facilities that are specially trained for that kind of population to try to take some of the load off of emergency departments. But it is really critical that we connect people who are experiencing these crises with the mental health care system. And that's one provision in the law that does that.
Now, you also speak about keeping guns out of mentally ill people's hands, and you say by doing background checks and stuff like that, but what if this is somebody that nothing shows up on their background check? There's a lot of times where they're taking a gun from somebody else. How do we prevent stuff like that?
So there are plenty of people who have not committed any crimes and are legally entitled to own a gun, but then later develop some form of paranoia or schizophrenia where it is really not a good idea for them to own a gun. That can't be captured by the background check on the front end because they own their gun. But there's another provision called a red flag law where a family member or law enforcement could go to a court and petition the court in a hearing, due process hearing, and say this person poses a real risk to themselves, poses a real risk to others, and we should take those guns away from them temporarily. There are plenty of states that have those laws, and gun deaths have gone down afterward.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for being here.
One more question, just what we have here, sir. Any thoughts on Cecil Brockman, the representative in Guilford County?
just read press reports, and the charges are extremely serious and deeply troubling. And while the criminal justice process takes effect, he cannot be effective representing his constituents, and he should resign.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. As you know, most of y'all have the press email. If you have any follow-up questions, please do. Thank you, Integrated Family Services, for having us today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry to all your mics.
All right, so that was Governor Josh Stein in Greenville, North Carolina, Greenville, North Carolina, earlier today, talking about mental health investments there in that part of the state, Greenville specifically. It's touring a facility in Greenville as well. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. Carlene is also here in studio with me. All right, so earlier today we heard from South Carolina health officials as they give us a detail on the health improvement plan that they have created. So state officials provided more details on a new initiative aiming to help encourage public health across South Carolina. So we had a little bit of it on the 9 to 11 stream, but signal was kind of waning a bit, but here it is in case you missed it, the press conference in its entirety in case you missed it.
Today you'll hear more about the plan from Dr. Carla Baru, Deputy Director of Health Strategy and External Affairs and Chief of Staff for DPH, Sarah Goldsby, Office Director for the South Carolina Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Disability Office of Substance Use Services, and Monty Robertson, Executive Director of the Alliance for a Healthier South Carolina. First up is Dr. Baru.
Good morning and welcome to the South Carolina State Health Campus. As Casey just said, my name is Carla Baru and I'm the Deputy Director of Health Strategy and External Affairs and Chief of Staff at the South Carolina Department of Public Health. And I am thrilled to have the honor of announcing the release of our State Health Improvement Plan, or SHIP for short. This effort represents the work of so many people across so many different organizations, which is why I think it's appropriate that we're having this announcement at a campus designed to encourage these types of collaborations. collaborative efforts. The SHIP is a comprehensive 5-year roadmap to address the most pressing public health challenges across our state and improve the well-being of everyone in South Carolina. It is rooted in data from our most recent state health assessment and is the result of more than a year's worth of collaborative meetings with partners from across the state representing different areas of expertise. We are grateful for all of the individuals and organizations that participated in the process of developing the SHIP. This process allowed us to bring together individuals from different sectors, including state agencies, healthcare providers, business and community partners, all united by a common goal of improving the health and well-being of those in South Carolina. The SHIP identified 9 key priority areas. They are chronic health conditions, behavioral health, maternal and infant health, affordable and nutritious foods, safe and affordable places to be physically active, access to high-quality care, income and poverty, education, and neighborhood and community development. For each of these priorities, the SHIP outlines an intended result that we would like to achieve in our state. It shares information about why the topic is important and what indicators we will be tracking to know how we are doing. It then provides strategies and opportunities for collaborative action for each priority. We will continue to engage and work collaboratively with our partners to implement the SHIP and work towards creating a healthier South Carolina. Our hope is that communities across the state can use this document and other tools that we have available to help guide their efforts. While we are here to celebrate the achievement of publishing this plan, it is really just the beginning of the work. And speaking of collaborations and moving the work forward, I want to turn it over now to another one of our state agency partners. Sarah Goldsby, Director of the Office of Substance Use Services within the South Carolina Department of Behavioral Health and Development Disabilities, will come up now.
Thank you, Carla. Good morning. It has really been a privilege to be included on the steering committee for the State Health Improvement Plan with several amazing colleagues across sectors from both inside government and outside state government. I've had the opportunity to see the SHIP take shape after so much input has been in the development of this work. The steering committee and the work groups that I participated in spent months looking at all of the available data sources for statewide and specific population health measures. And understanding the data was really essential for setting the priorities for the next 5 years. This approach to the plan was very much data-driven, and like Carla said, it was more than anything very collaborative. And the beauty of the collaboration, and specifically the teamwork that went into this, is that you get folks with different strengths, various perspectives, and a shared vision, and centering that around shared goals. And that's really what gets you great results. And the many folks that contributed to this plan had different perspectives, varying backgrounds, unique experiences and expertise, and they all care very deeply about the well-being of people in our state. And I believe that the essence of that will be very clear to anyone who reads this plan and the solutions that it holds. About behavioral health issues and really many other conditions, they affect emotional, psychological, and social well-being across the lifespan, across many life stages. And the many partners who contributed to setting the priorities in this plan and outlining the strategies, they were thoughtful and intentional about considering the biological, psychological, social, and environmental factors that contribute to the potential of living a healthy life. And again, the development of this plan was led primarily by partnerships and collaboration. Really want to express gratitude to the Department of Public Health for making it so inclusive as it developed. From the development of priorities to the work on the strategies, the State Health Improvement Plan is about shared commitment across sectors and supporting the health of South Carolinians. So as Carla said, what comes next is bringing even more stakeholders to this team, because now is the time for more great leaders and more agencies and more organizations to really commit to acting on the strategies. And so we know that South Carolina has a strong sense of unity, and we have so many people who are relentlessly committed to improving the health and wellness of our neighbors. I've been honored to be on this team and to help shape this, but I'm really excited to see it put to action. And so now I'm going to invite Monty Robertson, Executive Director of the Alliance for a Healthier South Carolina.
Good morning. Again, I'm Monty Robertson, Executive Director of the Alliance for a Healthier South Carolina. First, I want to thank the South Carolina Department.
All right, so you're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturtevant. Right there is a press conference out of Columbia earlier, right before we got onto the stream, as health leaders talk about a health improvement plan that they are working on releasing. So we'll get back to that in just a moment, but we want to come back here a lot closer to home. We want to talk about Pottstown. So Pottstown is a historically black neighborhood in Huntersville, and for years, folks there have pushed against things like gentrification and worked to preserve that community. And it's a community that was formed in the early 1900s of once enslaved folk there. And again, a historic community. There's been a lot of work to preserve that community. WCNC Charlotte's Walker Lawson is covering the story today. Walker catches up. We talked about it in the meeting, but I'll let you lay it out there. So what is new and what is the latest when it comes to preserving that community?
Yeah, so the town of Huntersville actually held a public hearing on Tuesday evening, about a preservation plan for this property. It's about 150 or so homes. There is a former school there that they would like to see developed in some capacity, not by an outside developer, but by someone that the town or that the Pottstown community is familiar with. But it's really an effort of trying to preserve, as you mentioned, there have been efforts of gentrification around the area. There are a lot of new developments that are really right up against the property. And as we always talk about, Huntersville is busy with development. And compared to yesterday, we were talking about a farmer leaving Huntersville. We're now talking about people that live in Pottstown trying to stay and preserve their community and not see the history that their loved ones that have lived there for 80 plus years leave, a legacy that they would like to keep. So this plan went before, it had a public hearing. It'll go before the Board of Commissioners in 2 weeks. The people that live there want maybe a little bit more from the plan. Okay. They think that they would like to have somewhat of an overlay district of some sort to protect them from outside developers coming in and taking this property over.
Are they optimistic? I know you said they would like to see more from this plan, but are they optimistic with the way things are going forward?
I think they're happy with what they have, but they would always like to see more. And so they feel like there needs to be a little bit more urgency because the best way to explain it is one woman I interviewed, Janelle, who you'll hear from tonight. Her grandma's lived there, her grandma lived there. She's now coming, she just moved here from Texas. She's been here for about 11 years now. And she said, we can't even go through a dinner without probably having 10 calls from developers saying, is your land for sale? Can we buy it? Wow. We want to purchase this land. And they took me to one home specifically that used to be a juke joint and has now been bought by a developer. And they're trying to transform it into a house that's going to cost, they said, around $500,000, which is not in the price range of what they're living in. So they said with the potential 1 cent sales tax being passed, the train tracks come right up beside Pottstown, and they just feel like it needs to be more urgent and there needs to be more of an initiative to lock this down because they are a little concerned that if this 1 cent sales tax does get approved, you're seeing all these different developments coming up along that light rail or potential red line.
Yeah, you're talking about impacts that from this 1 cent sales tax could have that a lot of people don't think about. And again, it's a historic community. Walker, I already know what time you're going to be on. You're going to be on 6:15. I don't even have to ask you.
Wow, you memorized it today. I'm impressed.
Walker will be on at 6:15. A very important story in our community in Mecklenburg County. Walker, thank you for your time, man.
Thanks for having me.
All right, let's take a break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. All right, welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Soderman. Carlene is also here in studio. So we are in day 9 of the government shutdown, and we have been getting reaction from both sides of the aisle. Right now on Capitol Hill, Representative House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries is speaking to the media out there on Capitol Hill. Let's take a listen in to what he is saying.
That Republicans have visited upon the American people. That's a real thing. The possibility of a $536 billion cut to Medicare that will take effect at the end of this year if Congress doesn't act because of the one big ugly bill. That's a real thing. The fact that unless we extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits, tens of millions of Americans are about to experience dramatically increased premiums, copays, and deductibles by thousands of dollars per year. That's a real thing. The fact that hospitals, nursing homes, and community-based health clinics are closing all across the country, including in rural America, that's a real thing. The Republican healthcare crisis is real. It's upon us. It's devastating the country. And House Democrats, partnering with Senate Democrats, are standing up on principle in defense of the American people.
Was there a problem that was
Have you spoken? The president brought your name up earlier today during a cabinet meeting. Was that the first time that he has actually said your name out loud? And also, why is it important for you to have something resembling a working relationship with the president?
I guess it appears to be the first time that he has actually mentioned my name, but we obviously, more importantly, had a meeting a week ago to sit down at the White House, at the Oval Office, to try to negotiate a bipartisan spending agreement to, at the time, avoid a shutdown and also to address the Republican healthcare crisis. Unfortunately, subsequent to that Oval Office meeting, the Republican behavior has been erratic at best. Subsequent to that White House meeting, all we saw from President Trump were deep fake videos, threats to cancel projects, promises made to engage in mass firings, Republicans in the House continuing to be on vacation all across the country, and Leader Thune engaging in the classic definition of legislative insanity, which is doing the same thing over and over and over again, bringing the same partisan Republican spending bill to the Senate floor over and over and over again and expecting a different result. Things are not going to change until Republicans actually decide to get serious about a bipartisan negotiation, because our position has been well articulated in defense of the American people: cancel the cuts, lower the costs, save health care.
Leader Jeffries, have you spoken with Speaker Johnson about Congresswoman-elect Adelita Grijalva? Is he setting a precedent here that you could follow?
Well, Representative-elect Adelita Grijalva should be sworn in now. Should have happened this week. It should have happened last week. It needs to happen next week.
Leader Jeffries, thank you, Mr. Leader. You mentioned that you're willing to sit down with the Trump administration. You say that it's going to be up to President Trump to give Speaker Johnson and Leader Thune marching orders on how to resolve this issue. J.D. Vance is reportedly going to Indiana tomorrow to talk to Indiana Republicans about redrawing their maps. It appears that the president could be going to the Middle East in the aftermath of the peace agreement that was announced yesterday. Does that indicate to you that this shutdown will go on into the weekend, into next week? What are your thoughts about the administration's movements heading into the weekend as this shutdown goes on?
Donald Trump and Republicans shut the government down because they'd rather inflict pain on the American people than address the healthcare crisis that they've created. And the behavior that we continue to see, including the vice president apparently traveling to Indiana to try to rig the congressional map as part of their effort to steal the midterm elections, again reinforces the lack of seriousness in terms of their behavior, particularly as it relates to reopening the government or making sure that our military troops who are in harm's way are actually paid. And it's very unfortunate that their behavior continues to signal that they are uninterested in the type of bipartisan negotiations necessary to bring the Trump Republican shutdown to a close. I hope that changes. I hope it changes today. I hope it changes tomorrow. We'll meet with them anytime, any place, anywhere, either here at the Capitol or back in the Oval Office. But Republicans need to get serious about reopening the government. They need to get serious about reaching a spending agreement that actually makes life better for the American people, addresses the cost of living crisis that exists in America that Donald Trump promised to fix on day one, but costs haven't gone down on day one. Costs have gone up. The Trump tariffs are making life more expensive, and now because of their refusal to deal with the Affordable Care Act tax credits, health care premiums are about to explode.
Leader Jeffries, would you support a standalone bill for military members? I believe that has happened in previous shutdowns. There may be a bill already introduced to do that now.
Yes, and what House Republicans need to do is come back so we can address the military pay issue and reopen the government. I mean, this is an extraordinary thing. It's unbelievable. Members of the House Republican Conference are upset and perplexed that their leadership has them on vacation week after week after week. The last day the House was in session was September 19th. Republicans got out of town before sundown, and we haven't seen them back in Washington since. This is extraordinary. This is a crisis, both in terms of the government shutdown, the impact on the American people, the impact on aviation safety, the impact on public safety, the impact on the health and well-being of the American people. And House Republicans remain on vacation. Their own voters are telling them, including the Republican Speaker, get back into town. Sit down with Democrats. Engage in a bipartisan negotiation. Reopen the government and address the health care crisis that they've created, which impacts rural America, small town America, urban America, working class America, black and brown communities throughout America, and the heartland of America. That's the focus that Democrats have. We need Republican partners to join us.
Leader Jeffries.
Thank you.
What do you think of the Trump administration's plan to pay for the WIC program with tariff revenue?
Yeah, I'm unfamiliar with that plan, but what we've seen in prior shutdowns is that presidential administrations have continued to provide support for women, infants, and children, and that needs to continue right now. And to the extent that anything different happens, it will be another example of the Trump administration using the shutdown to continue to inflict cruelty on the American people. It's the reason why the American people know who's responsible for shutting the government down and know that Republicans have been unserious to date about reopening it. Thanks, Nicole.
Thank you, Mr. Leader. We saw Congressman Lawler approach you yesterday after your press conference.
Who?
We also saw Democratic Senators Gallego and Kelly go to the Speaker's office yesterday. You say this is a crisis. What is stopping you from just going to the Speaker's office, going to Leader Thune's office to have this conversation that you want to have?
Well, it takes two to tango, and at the end of the day, we have continued to make clear that we will sit down with the Republican Speaker, with the Republican leader, with President Trump once again, with Vice President Vance, with people from the administration to resolve this crisis. But we actually need Republicans to decide to get serious. Understand, it's important for the American people to understand, they have the House, the Senate, and the presidency. This is Republican complete control of government. And from the very beginning of this presidency, they've taken a my way or the highway approach, a go-it-alone approach. It's not working out for the American people, and the American people know that things in this country are moving in the wrong direction, not the right direction, and that Republicans have complete control of government, that costs have gone up, not down, life is more expensive, that the healthcare crisis will be devastating to their ability to actually be able to see a doctor when and where they need it for themselves, their children, and their families. And as Democrats, we actually have come to the conclusion that we're trying to help them address the mess that they've created, because dealing with this issue related to healthcare costs, healthcare access, hospital closures, nursing home closures, community-based health centers closing in rural America, in red states, along with purple states and blue states, is just good for the country. And unfortunately, to date, what we've seen from Republicans is an unwillingness to actually sit down and find a common sense bipartisan path forward.
Leader Jeffries, have you or anyone in your caucus talked to Marjorie Taylor Greene this week about, given her statements? And also separately, how shocked were you that you are able to use her to prove your point?
I can't say that I've had a conversation with Marjorie Taylor Greene, but she is correct as it relates to the health care crisis that exists. And it's consistent with the point that we as Democrats have made from the very beginning, that Republicans have made a mess of the health care in this country. It's a broken system. It's a life or death issue. Yesterday, we heard testimony from a 29-year-old woman, Mariah Plant, courageous woman. She lives in Wyoming County in West Virginia. That's a state that Donald Trump won by 42 points. She's a small business owner. She also cares for her older brother, who's completely nonverbal and legally blind, requires around-the-clock care that Mariah lovingly provides. She's able to provide that care to her older brother because of Medicaid, which is now being threatened as a result of the Republican One Big Ugly Bill. The hospital in the rural part of West Virginia that she utilizes in cases of emergency is at risk of closing. And she gets her health care from the Affordable Care Act tax credits, which makes it affordable for her, given all of the things that she has to deal with. And if those tax credits expire, she's going to face thousands of dollars in additional expense and will be unable to see a doctor for herself, let alone be able to continue to care for her older brother in the loving environment in the home that she's in. We're fighting for people like Mariah Plant. We're fighting for her family. We're fighting for people in all parts of the country, which is why our position has been very clear. Cancel the cuts, lower the costs, save health care for every single American. Thank you all.
Mideast peace deal. Are you skeptical at all?
Thank you.
So, all right, so that was House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries there on Capitol Hill, giving us sort of his side of things and the Democrat side of things when it comes to the shutdown. You see right there on the side, we are in day 9 of the shutdown. The Senate failed to advance a funding bill for the 7th time today. You see where that vote ended, 54 to 45. Again, day 9 of the shutdown. Both sides continuing to point the finger at each other on who is to blame regarding this shutdown. All right, and I'm sure we will get more updates throughout this afternoon, throughout the day, as the shutdown continues. But let's take a quick break. We're going to step aside for 2 minutes. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. All right, welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. Carlene is here with me, and felt like fall this morning. AC has been off.
Your AC's been off?
My AC is off as in this morning.
As of this morning?
It will remain off.
I have to ask because you're from the South, as
Yeah.
am I. Do you sleep with a fan?
I do.
Okay, I did.
But I haven't been the past this week because
Really?
I haven't been feeling well, so
Right.
I didn't want to get.
Even if I still do a fan.
Still,
I
yeah.
know it doesn't
I try
help
to-
my
yeah.
throat situation.
Yeah,
but I gotta have a fan.
I try to forgive us. We have sort of this nasally thing.
Yeah,
Both of us.
I'm sorry. I sound like a little bit like the nanny.
Fran. But I try to because I remember I got sick one year. I was have some allergies, and I get hot when I sleep. I guess I started sweating just a little bit in my sleep, but I had the fan going, and I got terribly sick.
I know it doesn't help the situation.
No, it doesn't. I was like,
And I know it, because I wake up and my throat's feeling scratchy. And I'm like, why is my throat so scratchy? Probably because I have a fan blowing in my face.
but it feels great.
I need the sound. It's the sound.
It feels great. I like I like the fan. I'm a fan guy. So
I'm a fan.
But you're not going to need the fan anymore.
No.
It's about to get cooler, at least tonight. Because look at this. This is a beautiful sight. It's a beautiful day to be outside to take a long walk.
Don't you just want to jump in the water?
No. but it looks pretty to look at.
It's so pretty.
It's a great day to walk a dog named Turkey.
Oh
if you
my
have
gosh,
one.
he's going to be so excited.
Carlene might not be excited.
He'll be excited.
He'll be excited.
He'll be so excited.
But it's going to get cold.
I'll be there for the ride.
It's going to be cold overnight.
Yeah, I know.
So just want to forewarn you guys. Gonna be cold.
Yeah.
Gonna be cold. The AC and the heat are not coming on.
No.
We're just gonna have to layer it up at night. So, all right. I know I'm rambling. We're talking about weather, but let's get to our full forecast with meteorologist Majestic Storm.
Well, good Thursday afternoon, everyone. I'm meteorologist Majestic Storm, and boy, does that cold front feel nice. It passed through yesterday, and now back behind it, we have an absolutely stunning day. You can see blowing rock all morning long, and this afternoon has been busy. Lots of people getting out and enjoying the mountains. They are all decorated and ready for fall with pumpkins, and even look at that, Mother Nature showing off some of the trees, already starting to change colors. Few things to know is that most of us, we all get to sit back, relax, and enjoy some sunshine today. Get outside and enjoy it. I mean, it is beautiful. It is going to be cooler today with temperatures only rising into the 70s. That'll be a much needed break from that warmth and humidity. Little breezy today, windy this weekend, still staying pretty mild. And then next week, we do have the return of some 80-degree temperatures. So I don't think fall's quite here yet, but we'll take a brief break. Yesterday, we topped off at 85 degrees. It was warm, it was muggy, and today's going to be nice, only 72 degrees for our high. Throughout the afternoon, whether you want to get outside for your lunch break or maybe even around dinner time, we'll hold on to clear conditions, comfortable temperatures, low 70s. It'd be the best day to really head out to the park if you want to take the kids there after school today. And then you can see it is going to be a little breezy. Northeasterly winds, they start to pick up today, and you'll notice them becoming steady even as we're heading into the weekend. Some of those winds gusting around 20 to 25 miles an hour. So if you're heading to the golf course, you want to go play some pickleball, maybe you want to go for a bike ride, yes, those winds will be out there. Very comfortable temperatures, though. Comfortable today, even nicer as we're heading into our Friday. Look at that, low 70s, and then look at this gradual warming trend. Low 80-degree temperatures, they'll return as we're heading into the middle to end of next week. But look at these lows. Friday morning, I'm not kidding you, we're going to be starting out the day with with upper 40s to around 50-degree temperatures. So that drop in temperatures, yeah, it's nice if you like that cool weather, but it's really that big drop in humidity that's making it feel crisp. And those cool overnight lows, they'll be persistent even this weekend. So might be a good weekend to have a bonfire, maybe have some chili. Nonetheless, open up your windows, let in that nice cool air. Rain chances may return Saturday, Sunday, only a 20% chance. Not a whole lot, but here's the deal. I'm going to break this down for you. Futurecast into the later evening hours, not looking bad. Friday, we're calling for partly sunny skies, but notice those northeasterly winds, again, capable of gusting around 20 to 25 miles an hour. We're watching a coastal low, and it depends on how well westward it moves, and that'll be dependent upon whether or not we get this rain. Here's Saturday at 7 a.m. Notice a lot of the rain staying mainly east of Charlotte. Again, I think that this forecast is going to change as we get a little closer into the weekend. So again, enjoy it. We have the stalled front that's going to start to interact with this area of low pressure. This is going to become our coastal low that will bring some problems up and down the coast of the Carolinas, especially the Outer Banks. We're talking about Saturday, Sunday, straight into Monday. Overwash 3 to 5 feet along Highway 12 will be possible with winds up to 50 miles an hour. The more inland you are, the less you will be impacted, but really stay close to our weather team this weekend. We'll be following that very carefully for you. And then we do have Tropical Storm Jerry still forecasted to turn into a hurricane, but still forecasted to turn off to the north and to the east, which means it'll stay away from the United States. Speaking of Jerry, here's our Jerry Hunt Supercenter 7-day forecast. Sunny skies today, low 70s, very comfortable for our Friday, and not a bad looking weekend weather forecast either.
All right, so that is a look at your forecast. So we want to get back to something that we were playing earlier. So we were telling you about how health officials here over in South Carolina, or here in South Carolina, depending on where you are, because you might be a South Carolina viewer, rolling out more details on a new edition of aiming to help encourage public health across South Carolina. So let's get back now to that press conference.
Good morning. Again, I'm Monty Robertson, Executive Director of the Alliance for a Healthier South Carolina. First, I want to thank the South Carolina Department of Public Health for your leadership in guiding this process. I also want to thank every partner who is here or who may not be here for your level of engagement in shaping this plan. And so today's release of this plan reflects the best of what can happen when we all come together, both public agencies, hospitals, community, and residents of South Carolina, contributing their expertise, their voices, and their lived experience to shape a common goal of improving the health of South Carolina. So the Alliance for a Healthier South Carolina had the pleasure of contributing to this process. We have been an organization who has always been committed to convening partners, connecting actions, and catalyzing improvement for South Carolina. Through this work, we have helped shape the community perspective and bringing that to the table, really shaping what our strategies look like, ensuring that we prioritize state priorities, but also ensuring that we understand local issues in South Carolina. And so this plan is just not a document. This plan is a roadmap. It is our shared commitment to improving the health and well-being of South Carolina. And so real progress doesn't happen through just one organization. It's going to take all of us, state agencies, hospitals, nonprofits, businesses, community members, the list goes on. And so through this partnership, we can translate these priorities into meaningful actions that will improve our communities, our neighborhoods, and improve the overall health of our state. And so with hospitals, public health, nonprofits, schools, faith leaders, we can all come together and start moving in the same direction in order to improve our state. And so collaboration is just not important. but collaboration is critical if we want to see improvements in our state. And so looking ahead, today is in the finish line. Today is the starting point for us all working together. And so the next phase will be about implementation. It will be about accountability and tracking progress. And so the Alliance will continue to be deeply committed to supporting our partners as we move forward from planning to action, helping communicate the strategies that have been laid out in this plan. And so we know this work won't be easy, but with this momentum, we're encouraged that we can make lasting change for our state. And so in conclusion, as we move forward, I encourage everyone to stay involved, to stay engaged, and also to continue contributing to this effort. And so together, if we can work closely and align our efforts, I am confident that we all can live healthy. Thank you so much, and I'll turn it over to Casey.
Thanks, and we'll now open up the floor to our media partners to ask some questions. If you have any, if you don't mind just raising your hand, and one of our speakers will address it. Mary?
I guess for either of y'all, with the state agencies, how will this plan, differ your approaches going forward? Because clearly, chronic health conditions, maternal health, behavioral health are things that you're well aware of and have been trying to tackle for a while. Is this going to, change your approach, or is this going to build on work you've already been doing?
Sure, that's a great question. So I'll speak on behalf of the Department of Public Health. So I think it will certainly build upon the efforts that we already have. DPH is also in the process of looking at our strategic plan, and one of the things that we've been really intentional about is mapping the priorities from the SHIP to our strategic plan to really help guide the work to make sure that the efforts our agency is doing is aligning with those priorities that were identified through this collaborative process. A lot of them are areas that we are already working in, such as chronic disease, like you mentioned, and maternal and infant health. And so we will continue to work with our partners and implement some of the strategies that were identified through those conversations that Sarah talked about. Maybe there were new strategies that came up through the process, and we will work to implement those as the Department of Public Health.
Do you want me to add more? Sure. Okay. Similarly, some of the strategies specific to substance use issues are priorities of ours already, but I think bringing them into the State Health Improvement Plan, it's a call to action for partners across the state to engage with us on those strategies that we know are going to make lasting impact on South Carolinians. One specific example is, as we look at data of alcohol use and we see that more adults are binge drinking, we know that one key strategy that many entities can engage on is screening and brief intervention, making sure that folks who touch healthcare in any way, shape, or form are getting asked about their alcohol use. That's an opportunity for our healthcare providers to perhaps intervene when there's a problem and identify more latent substance use issues. And so while it's always a priority of ours, I think including it in the plan elevates the importance to partners across the state.
Any other questions?
In a nutshell, can you just summarize the whole plan?
All right, here's the 30-second try. I think it is a 5-year roadmap that really has identified the pressing health needs of our state and identifies ways that we are going to try to address those priorities and identifies measures in which we're going to hold ourselves accountable for the next 5 years and what we want to do to achieve a healthier South Carolina.
Yeah, Russ.
Nobody here would be surprised, but we named the 9 key areas. The second one you said was behavioral health. I don't think anybody would be surprised by that. But I think the public might be, why is that such a focus for health right in South Carolina?
Sure, I will start, and then I will actually ask Sarah to probably jump into that. I think we, as a public health agency, certainly know that behavioral health impacts health overall, and so there's a lot more data that we are seeing, particularly from our state health assessment, which is why this was identified as a priority. priority. And so I would encourage the public to check out some of the tools that we have. We have a health compass where they can actually go and see more data related to behavioral health and why we identified it as a priority and how it impacts our state. I'm going to let Sarah talk a little bit more about the specifics of that if you're good.
Yeah, it's a great question, and I think Carla hit it right on. The data is telling us a lot, and the data is changing, and so as we look at the trends related to overdose, alcohol use, suicide, our hospitals experiencing burden of people in the emergency department with behavioral health issues, when we look at the data in those trends, it's really very clear that that's got to be a priority. And so thinking about the specific strategies to turn that data in the right direction really is what sort of informed the key action items that you will see in this body of work. And it's not just the state agencies that are going to be able to tackle all of that and turn those trends in the right direction, which is again why it's so important, the partnership and the stakeholders that are really going to help us engage on in these ways to, you know, get people well enough to where we see our overdoses are declining, alcohol use is declining, and folks are engaging in prevention and wellness skills ahead of declining into worsening mental health issues.
I guess maybe building on that, but just a quick clarification. Is this the first iteration of this plan since the 2018?
I don't know that I would contribute it to COVID, but I do think a couple of the differences that you see are some of the non-med factors that are now priorities within the SHIP. So we do know that things like housing and income and education impact folks' health, and so that is why you see those elevated more in this SHIP than were in the first iteration. So I think, as previously was stated, right, our previous SHIP was outdated, right? We needed to do this. We also had a lot of really good information from that state health assessment that was just released, and so we wanted to make sure that we were using
has with expanding community health workers, and hopefully we can get them into more communities.
Just add to that briefly, I think that was a great strategy thinking about workforce. There are also kind of more broader strategies, which are things like increased access to nutritious food programs. We know in the state that we have several food programs, but what we also know is that not everybody eligible for those programs is taking advantage of those. So part of it is that we want to work with our partners to make sure that everybody has access to, knows about different programs, is aware of those, and is taking advantage of those. That is where it's not just state agencies, but it's how are we working with all those community partners. I would also encourage you, each of the priority areas here has some strategies and key indicators that we'll be looking at, so that's a great way to get more information.
Any other questions? Great. Well, barring any questions, we appreciate you all being here today. The SHIP is available on our website, dph.se.gov/SHIP, and you can access it there. We appreciate you coming again. Thank you.
All right, so health leaders, again, as you saw there, giving an update on a new health plan, new health initiatives there in South Carolina. All right, so again, 9 days into the government shutdown. Let's take a break. As I mentioned, 9 days into the government shutdown, but we are getting debate on the Senate floor. But we'll get to that in a minute, but we want to take a break. We're going to step aside for about 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. All right, welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. We are now within 9 days of the government shutdown. The clock continues to tick, and look, both sides of the aisle are pointing the finger at each other, playing a blame game on who caused the shutdown. Happening right now, live on the Senate floor. We are hearing from Senate leaders that is taking place, and also some new details into the shutdown. But let's take a listen into what's being said.
The challenge we faced was getting them done by the end of the fiscal year, and therefore we put in place a continuing resolution till a date in later November. This is a straightforward continuing resolution to give us the time to complete the appropriations process, including the money for the Transportation Department and the safety components that are included therein. My second point is that a continuing resolution is necessary to avoid a shutdown. And that point is that the shutdown is damaging it to us in many ways, to our nation. It's broadly damaging to us because it allows those who are critics, those who are adversaries, to realize that we're not as capable of functioning as we should be, and even our allies wonder what's going on in the United States. The point I want to make, there are consequences to the position we are allowed ourselves to get in, and it affects the safety of Americans every day. And having experienced the loss of life from the flight on January 29th from Wichita, Kansas to Washington, D.C., we should be doing everything we can to make certain that our air traffic system and the necessary components are in place to make sure that the traveling American citizens and the citizens of the world who use our airline system have a safe and secure flight when they board a plane in the United States. And the silliness of where we are today is impeding our ability to make that true. I don't know when a shutdown makes sense, but the consequences of this one, a short-term clean CR for a few more weeks to complete our appropriation works, a shutdown makes absolutely no sense for the benefit of America. I urge my Democratic colleagues to act now to pass this short-term continuing resolution so we can alleviate the pressures on our aviation system, return to doing our jobs and appropriating government funding, and provide much-needed certainty and stability for our nation.
All right, so you're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. Looks like that shot froze, but that is a look at the Senate floor. We are in day 9 of the shutdown. It looks like debate is over. It looks like they're taking a beat for a moment. But again, Senate failed to advance a funding bill for the 7th time today, ended in a 54-45 vote. All right, let's come back out here. Thank you for hanging with us this afternoon on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. We're approaching the top of the hour, 2:50. We're almost there. All right, we're making some progress. We're making some progress. All right, so let's check in with the forecast. It's starting to feel like fall. Let's check in with meteorologist Majestic Storm.
Well, good Thursday afternoon, everyone. I'm meteorologist Majestic Storm, and boy, does that cold front feel nice. It passed through yesterday, and now back behind it, we have an absolutely stunning day. You can see blowing rock all morning long, and this afternoon has been busy. Lots of people getting out and enjoying the mountains. They are all decorated and ready for fall with pumpkins, and even look at that, Mother Nature showing off some of the trees, already starting to change colors. Few things to know is that most of us, we all get to sit back, relax, and enjoy some sunshine today. Get outside and enjoy it. I mean, it is beautiful. It is going to be cooler today with temperatures only rising into the 70s. That'll be a much needed break from that warmth and humidity. Little breezy today, windy this weekend, still staying pretty mild. And then next week, we do have the return of some 80-degree temperatures. So I don't think fall's quite here yet, but we'll take a brief break. Yesterday, we topped off at 85 degrees. It was warm, it was muggy, and today's going to be nice, only 72 degrees for a high. Throughout the afternoon, whether you want to get outside for your lunch break or maybe even around dinner time, we'll hold on to clear conditions, comfortable temperatures, low 70s. It'd be the best day to really head out to the park if you want to take the kids there after school today. And then you can see it is going to be a little breezy. Northeasterly winds. They start to pick up today, and you'll notice them becoming steady even as we're heading into the weekend. Some of those winds gusting around 20 to 25 miles an hour. So if you're heading to the golf course, you want to go play some pickleball, maybe you want to go for a bike ride, yes, those winds will be out there. Very comfortable temperatures, though. Comfortable today, even nicer as we're heading into our Friday. Look at that. Low 70s, and then look at this gradual warming trend. Low 80-degree temperatures, they'll return as we're heading into the middle to end of next week. But look at these lows. Friday morning, I'm not kidding you. We're going to be starting out the day with upper 40s to around 50-degree temperatures. So that drop in temperatures, yeah, it's nice if you like that cool weather, but it's really that big drop in humidity that's making it feel crisp. And those cool overnight lows, they'll be persistent even this weekend. So might be a good weekend to have a bonfire, maybe have some chili. Nonetheless, open up your windows, let in that nice cool air. Rain chances may return Saturday, Sunday, only a 20% chance. Not a whole lot, but here's the deal. I'm going to break this down for you. Futurecast into the later evening hours, not looking bad. Friday, we're calling for partly sunny skies, but notice those northeasterly winds, again, capable of gusting around 20 to 25 miles an hour. We're watching a coastal low, and it depends on how well westward it moves, and that'll be dependent upon whether or not we get this rain. Here's Saturday at 7 a.m. Notice a lot of the rain staying mainly east of Charlotte. Again, I think that this forecast is going to change as we get a little closer into the weekend. So again, enjoy it. We have the stalled front that's going to start to interact with this area of low pressure. This is going to become our coastal low that will bring some problems up and down the coast of the Carolinas, especially the Outer Banks. We're talking about Saturday, Sunday, straight into Monday. Overwash 3 to 5 feet along Highway 12 will be possible with winds up to 50 miles an hour. The more inland you are, the less you will be impacted, but really stay close to our weather team this weekend. We'll be following that very carefully for you. And then we do have Tropical Storm Jerry still forecasted to turn into a hurricane, but still forecasted to turn off to the north and to the east, which means it'll stay away from the United States. Speaking of Jerry, here's our Jerry Hunt Supercenter 7-day forecast. Sunny skies today, low 70s, very comfortable for our Friday, and not a bad looking weekend weather forecast either.
All right, so that's a look at your forecast. Starting to feel like fall. It's gonna be cold. It's gonna be cold in the morning, James. I don't have to put a beanie on my head.
I know, bus stop was chilly this morning.
I gotta protect this bald head. But all right, so let's go now live to Washington D.C. to the Senate floor. So debate continues as we are in day 9 of a government shutdown. We've heard from both sides of the aisle on this issue. But again, this is a live look at the Senate floor. Let's take a listen in.
Including many farmers. And that's not just a challenge in South Dakota. Over a quarter of farmers in our country are covered through those exchanges. Do any of my colleagues think we should do nothing while farmers lose their health care? Do any of my colleagues want to stand by while families across the country see their premiums double? You know, we have common ground here, but that doesn't do any good when Republicans outright refuse to come to the table and negotiate. It doesn't do a lot of good when House Republicans are out on vacation for the 3rd week in a row. You know, this clock has been ticking all year long, and the time to avoid those massive premiums is just about up. There is no waiting, there is no later. You can either start talking with us now to reopen the government and act to stop premium hikes before the open enrollment, Or you can talk to your constituents about why you decided to sit on your hands and do diddly squat as their premiums went through the roof. The choice is yours. Democrats are here. We are still at the table. We have always been here. We have never left. And we are ready today, to work out a serious deal to address the health care crisis and reopen the government. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the floor.
The clerk will call the roll.
Ms. Alston-Brooks.
All right, so you're watching, this is a live look of the Senate floor right there as debate continues, as we are in day 9 of a government shutdown. All right, so we're going to shift away from that, and we're going to come back here in studio, and we're going to take a break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus.
Hey folks, thanks so much for sticking with us here on Live Impact News. Vanessa Rufus taking over for Nick Sturdivant. You're actually looking at a live look at Lake Norman, where obviously it looks beautiful today, and it's been a really great day to be outside. But more than that, something spectacular happened there this week, and we're going to talk all about that and introduce you to the person who did this awesome thing. So joining us right now in the Live Impact News studio, we have Leslie Hamilton. Leslie, you are a Charlotte native. You currently live in New York, but you were in town because you just swam Lake Norman, 26 miles. That's incredible.
Yes, yeah, thank you. Monday into Tuesday, yeah.
Yeah, so this was Monday, Tuesday. Tell us about your decision to take on this task, and what were you hoping to, I guess, send a message about by doing this?
Yeah, so I guess to just kind of back up, marathon swimming is a little bit of a niche sport that's gained a little bit more of a following. So long distance open water swimming. And marathon swimming is basically defined as any distance of swimming over a 10K. There's some traditional rules. So for a swim to be unassisted, you have one swimsuit, one cap, and one pair of goggles. You're not allowed to rest by touching the boat, touching the bottom of the water, and everything is meticulously documented to make sure that you stay within the parameters of the sport. So anyway, I've been doing marathon swimming since 2019. Before that, I grew up in around here in Charlotte, swam at Swim Mac Carolina, and for my high school at Charlotte Latin, and I've been swimming ever since. I just love it as a sport. I've done quite a few other swims, which maybe we'll talk about a little bit later here, but I thought it would be really fun to come back to my hometown and conquer this lake. So up in Lake Norman, I don't believe it's ever been swam before in this capacity. And yeah, I was just looking for a new challenge. The 26-mile length was well within my wheelhouse, but still a pretty big challenge. And yeah, it was really just a wonderful swim on a wonderful day. I had a wonderful support crew out there with me, and my family helped and pitched in.
And I mean, you said it's a wonderful day, but I'm looking at some videos of you swimming at night. What is that like? I can only imagine being in the water, and it looks like it's quite dark, save for, of course, your headlamp, and it looks like you've got some boats that are beautifully decorated with Christmas lights.
Yes. Yeah, I actually love to swim at night. I think it's very relaxing. It may seem a little bit scary, but it's really a lot easier to just center your mind, and your eyes get really used to the shapes, and you're able to see quite a lot. I think Lake Norman was pretty illuminated. Like you said, my boat had some nice bright Christmas lights, which were fun because we could change colors throughout as well, but a lot of the lakeside houses provided a lot of light. I wore lights on my head so that my crew could see me. I had a kayaker that was following me who also had lights, and so it is a very Christmassy feel. It's very fun to see all the colored lights and the surrounding lights. So yeah, I really enjoy that aspect of it, and I think it's actually a little bit simpler at night because you don't have the boat traffic. You're less likely to have the wind. So it was a conscious decision to swim through the night quite a bit.
Interesting. Well, and we kind of alluded to this, the fact that this is potentially the first solo marathon swim on Lake Norman. It sounds like there's some documentation that has to happen with that. Who keeps track of that record? And I mean, do they basically go by every body of water and kind of keep track of who's gone in there and tried to conquer it?
Yes, actually they do. So it's called the Marathon Swimmers Federation. It's headed up by Evan Morrison. It's been in circulation for a number of years, and it really is a comprehensive database. It keeps track of a lot of more local marathon swims, so anything over a 10K in the U.S., but then and beyond. It tracks all over the world, like people that do the English Channel, a big prominent, well-known long swim, all the way up to like little local events. There's actually a really lovely one in the Catawba River, like hosted by Doug Miller, who's a local here. It's a nice little quick 10K jaunt to the dam, I guess the Mountain Island Dam and back. I've done that one before. But yeah, everything is just recorded, organized, verified, especially some of these longer swims. There's a lot of data points that go into them, not only GPS tracking, but you also have just water temperature, wind speed, other notes like how the swimmer is feeling, the swimmer's stroke rate. You count strokes per minute just to make sure that everybody's at their full energy level, just also for safety concerns. So yeah, very, very thoroughly documented, really, really well maintained, and really a really great place to aggregate all of the wonderful achievements of everybody in our sport.
So it sounds like your time for Lake Norman was 14 hours, 49 minutes. You did not stop. You didn't have assistance. How do you prepare your body for that? And I guess, what does that look like when you do maybe start to feel tired? How do you kind of either push through or manage that?
Yeah, so I train quite a bit. Out in Brooklyn, I actually train in Coney Island. There's a wonderful community there that swims with me as well. And I also train in the pool during the week, since it's difficult with a classic 9-to-5 job to get out to the beach every day. But I really just try to swim as much as I can. I think there's that physical component, but there's also the mental component. And yeah, it's really enjoyable. For swims like that, you can't really go all out flailing your arms the whole time. I think a lot of it is very rhythmic and getting into the groove of things. And of course, training for endurance, but I basically have been training for years. I feel like my entire marathon swimming career is really just one big continuous training cycle and just really enjoying the process.
Yeah. Now we hear that this wasn't just about, setting a record or just seeing what you could do. Like personally, this also appears to be an attempt to raise awareness about the environment. So talk about that, if you will.
Yeah, so I was in communication with the Catawba Riverkeeper throughout the planning of this swim. And I know there's quite a few news articles, or if you Google Lake Norman water, there's always articles that pop up occasionally, whether, swim advisory in effect, algae bloom, or sewage dumped, very dirty, right? And I know there is a lot of that. However, the Catawba Riverkeeper works tirelessly to keep things clean. And a lot of the times it's only some affected areas. I think a lot of people, it's easy to get nervous when you think about open water. There are a lot of unknowns, right? Not only thinking about like wildlife, weather, pollution, but I would say for the most part, there's great resources online as well to determine the true quality of the water. And you should always follow no swim advisories, but I think it's maybe not quite as widespread as sometimes the news may say. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I just would hope that I don't want any news articles like that to maybe prevent people from swimming that wouldn't otherwise do so. I think, open water swimming is a pretty accessible sport. There's quite a few bodies of water out there that haven't really been explored. So that was really my aim, to kind of conquer this one, check it out, and yeah, hopefully raise some awareness along the way.
Now, you talked about this as not your first, big swim. You've done another one in 2023. Tell us about that. And that one looked like 37 miles that you did, right?
Yeah, so I was the first woman and first person in about 50 years to swim around Staten Island. So Staten Island was a very interesting, varied, and complicated swim to plan, mainly just because of boat traffic and currents. I had a wonderful crew for that as well, with New York Open Water, a local organization in New York City who I've done numerous swims with. Actually, one of the kayakers, Alex Arevalo, was with me on Lake Norman as well. He's just such a superstar kayaker, as is pretty much everybody that is willing to go sit on a boat for hours on end and help support and really just, cares about the water, cares about the sport. But anyway, yeah, Staten Island, another place that's very well known for pollution, especially on that western end, the Arthur Kill. There's a lot of industrial activity going on. And yeah, it doesn't have the best rep necessarily for pollution. However, I swam through. I was totally fine. It maybe wouldn't be something I do every day, but I do think that once again, you get, unfortunately, we get kind of a bad rap for pollution. In the news recently, I think there actually is some waste that's going to be dumped into the Hudson. Hopefully we can prevent that at the last second. It's really just such an honor to swim in such historic waterways. And knowing that, in the New York Harbor or even Lake Norman. It's been there for years and years and years. And many people have explored it by boat or, water skiing or, see it whenever they fly into New York. But actually getting to swim in all of these places, it's really magical.
Yeah.
And I just hope that we can preserve that for future generations.
Yeah. I mean, I'm thinking to probably your first time in the water and maybe how you connected with the water. It seems like you have a passion and, to have to spend that much time in the water, you clearly love it. And it's kind of like a calling, it seems like. Can you tell us about, your younger memories, kind of building that relationship with the water and when you realized that, hey, I really dig this?
Yeah, it definitely wasn't a completely straight path. So I grew up, I didn't really start to swim competitively. I swam in like 5th or 6th grade, so I would have been like 11. I swam through elementary, middle school. And then in high school, I got serious and I joined Swim at Carolina, doing the year-round swimming thing. I was a little bit behind as compared to some other people that have been doing it their whole life. I really never liked swim meets so much, but I loved practices. I loved just being in the water, zoning out. I feel like there's something just so special about being alone with your own thoughts. I think it's one of those things where it starts out maybe a little bit uncomfortable, but the more you do it, the more natural it just becomes. Mm-hmm. I swam through college, same story, loved practices, didn't love the meet so much, met some really great people, took a break after college, moved to New York, found the wonderful open water community here, and then really did just find it as my calling. I think I've had a turbulent relationship occasionally with swimming. I think it's really difficult when you train for hours and hours and hours and days and weeks, and then your event is over in a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
Versus open water swimming where it's hours and hours, and it's a process, it's a journey, and it's really just a little bit like a nature hike. It's just such a wonderful experience, and I think people think I could be a little bit crazy for it, but I work really hard. A lot of it is really just, consistency, body position, and just a real enjoyment. Kind of going out there, seeing what works and what doesn't. It's complicated to figure out how you're going to fuel, how you're going to plan your routes, switching your strategy when there's bad weather. I mean, I could go on, but yeah, that's pretty much my high-level journey so far.
As far as, folks who are watching this and they feel like, I think I'm a decent swimmer, but I want to kind of take it up a notch. What would you recommend for folks to do? Or maybe if they're just a total novice and they just feel like this is something they want to try and dip their toe in the water, if you will. How do they get started?
I think it really just depends on where you are geographically. I think a lot of communities do have open water swimming groups. I think, like I was saying before, it is a little bit niche, but I do think that, an easy search around to kind of see what's available as far as water accessibility, or at least just starting in the pool. As far as just how you would get started, I think a lot of it, like I said, is consistency and really just kind of forming a good, solid, technical basis, working on your swimming technique. There's marathon swims, but there's also plenty of open water swims during the summer. I know even in North Carolina where it's just, maybe a mile or so. And there's a lot of great events out there to really just be in nature, explore the waters. And yeah, I think you can really, there's something for everyone at every level.
Now, what's up for you next, do you think? I know you literally just finished this thing, and you said you're still kind of recovering a little bit too. I mean, you're still feeling it, but have you thought about what you might do next?
First, a nap. First, lots of naps.
Naps are always
lots of
great.
Sleeping in. But yeah, I think so far I have some ideas, but I'm not really sure exactly what I'll pursue next. I know, some of the other swims that I've done some beautiful lakes, like Lake Tahoe. There's a beautiful lake in Vermont called Lake Memphremagog. Some of these nice still water lakes are beautiful. And yeah, I think there's so many options. I mean, like I was saying before with Marathon Swimmers Federation, there's actually a view where you can click the world map and all sorts of swims from all over the world will pop up as things that people have done. And I think the possibilities are really endless. So I'm going to dream and scheme and figure out what's next year, eventually, when the time comes.
Yeah. This is just more of a curiosity factor. What does it feel like when you get out of the water once you finally complete an ultra swim like that? Like, are your legs just like, jello, like, and you're on land? I'm just curious, like, how the body feels after doing something like that.
Yeah, usually it's my upper body. Okay. It feels very weird that it can just be still.
Yeah.
I'm usually pretty wired. That could be just because of caffeine throughout. I think also just after such a big event, my body is still on a high, and it takes a little bit of time to really kind of come down. I know, like, the day after I finished the swim, so I swam Monday into Tuesday, then on Tuesday night, I could not fall asleep. I was up until like 1 a.m.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it's definitely a long recovery process after that. I mean, there's an element of relief. On the very best ones, I usually also have a lot of motivation to kind of think about what's next, and I definitely felt that way after this one. So it's great. It's always, it's just a continuous journey, really.
Yeah. What does your family think about this? I say this as they're all in here taking pictures. Yeah. But they're clearly proud of you. But what do they think about this? Like, this hobby and or passion that you have that is just so, it's niche, but it's like incredible. Like you said, it's niche, but
Yeah, they've always been so supportive of me. I think, especially at the beginning, my parents weren't so sure because, once again, it isn't like a well-known thing. So I had a lot of explaining to do. My husband, who's also here, is just absolutely my number one fan and supporter. He spent hours on boats, hours and days on boats, and keeps me well fed as I'm training. He's an excellent chef. But yeah, everybody is super supportive. I think that they think it's kind of crazy, but they're definitely along for the ride with me, and I couldn't be more grateful.
That's awesome. Is there anything you'd like to leave our viewers with, before we wrap things up? Either, message that you have, just getting into the sport, anything you'd like to share?
Yeah, I think that just overall, I hope that more people can get into the sport. I think it's been growing. I think it's just been such a wonderful thing. I know for me, as a former collegiate swimmer who was really burnt out, I think I don't see so many of us coming back to the sport. I think it's, there's an element of competition in open water swimming, but it's not quite the same element of competition as competitive pool swimming. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I think coming back from a little bit of burnout over the years has been so refreshing, and my love for the sport is greater than it's ever been. And I think, I'm lucky that I found like a lifelong passion and hobby that I can continue. And I only wish the same, that everybody could find something like it, whether that's swimming or something else. So considering myself lucky.
Well, incredible job. Once again, Leslie Hamilton just swam, and we believe the first person to swim 26-mile length of Lake Norman just this week. Still recovering. We hope you enjoy your nap too, because you earned it. All right, folks, thanks so much for sticking with us here on Live Impact News. I think this is a great time for a break. Yes, James is saying, our producer. Let's take a quick 2-minute break. We'll be back on the other side with all your breaking headlines. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Live Impact News. I'm Vanessa Rufus. We want to turn to one of our feeds we've been watching here within the last several minutes. There is a meeting one-on-one with President Donald Trump and the President of the Republic of Finland. There's going to also be bilateral that we see will take place in the Oval Office. So let's listen in to some of the dialogue, and we will hop in with anything big and breaking.
They had no idea how much it was going to cost. They knew nothing. And we have our Secretary of the Navy right over here, and we're working on a lot more than icebreakers. We're working on some very, very big and important ships. But they had no idea what they were doing, and I was with you, and I ended up meeting you and knowing you, and I heard about Finland and their icebreakers, and I said, do me a favor, would you have your people take a look at what these people are doing? And it came out that, just as I thought, they had no idea what they were doing. And we got involved, and we ended up. We need these ships very badly because we have a lot of territory, more than anybody. And so I'm very honored to have this deal, and thank you very much. It's going to be great. It's going to be a great partnership, and it's a great honor to have you, Mr. Prime Minister. Would you like to say something, please?
First, Mr. President, thank you very much. It's a great honor to be here today. And as a Prime Minister of Finland, I want to say that this deal is very important to Finland and our economy, because our economy is suffering a lot because of Russian aggression in Ukraine. And this deal, it means investments, it means jobs, and jobs means hope. And that's why this is so important. And I want to thank your leadership on this deal and this issue. Thank you very much.
So you've been affected very badly by the war going on, the ridiculous war going on, right?
Yes, because we have to close the border with Russia. We have 1,300 kilometers common border with them, and affects the atmosphere in Finland, in investments, and that's why we need good news. Our people need hope.
Right. So your border is closed.
Yes, closed.
And that's because you have so many Russians trying to get in?
Yes, they started to push illegal migrants to our border. That's why we were forced to close it.
And people also that don't want to go into the military, I guess, trying to come through, right?
Yeah, some of them are escaping. Fortunately, on our side, we don't have that problem. In Finland,
no, you have a great military.
We have compulsory military service, and as I always say, we have 900,000 men and women who've done it, including myself and the Prime Minister. We have 200.
And you've been fighting Russia for a long time. So how many years have you been indirectly fighting Russia?
Well, put it this way, we have managed our relationship since the 1300s with about 30 skirmishes, but it's been very peaceful at our border after World War II. Yeah, but it's been peaceful at our border since the Winter War and the War of Continuation. But I mean, a lot of it is because we actually have a very large military. It's the biggest in Europe, together with Turkey, Ukraine, and Poland. We have over 60 F-18s. We just bought 64 F-35s. We'll roll out the first one in Texas in December. We have the biggest artillery in Europe, together with Poland. And as I always say, we don't have it because we're worried about Stockholm.
Well, you really have proportionately, I think, the largest military in the world, proportionately.
It's quite big, yes, I have to admit. But, you know, we have it for defense purposes and also to build a deterrence. And it's worked, and I think that's one of the reasons that our relationship is so good as well. We have the Defense Cooperation Agreement with you. We're new allies in NATO. Our defense expenditure is going north of 3%. We work very closely with you and the rest of our allies. And, you know, when you push the ceiling of defense expenditure in NATO to 5%, you can imagine that a country like Finland was quite pleased with that, because that means that all of the allies have to bring up their defense expenditure, and you basically increased our security just with that decision in The Hague. And I have to admit that, having been to my first NATO summit in the summer of 2024, if someone would have told me that you will move from 2% to 5% after Trump enters, I would have said, go see a doctor. But, you know,
well, they had to do it, and you were great about it. Spain has not been. Spain is the one that didn't do it. And so I think you people are going to have to start speaking to Spain. The only one that didn't do it, the only NATO country that didn't do it is Spain. And you'll figure what that's all about, right?
Yeah, I mean, we'll work, and I think with the leadership also, Mark Rutte, the Secretary General of NATO, I think, there are a lot of commitments that have to take place, and this, of course, is going to also increase industrial defense exchanges. I think we buy 4 times more military material here from the U.S., and I think it's an essential part of our whole military setup in Europe. And it's good to be working on this together. But there's one thing that I wanted to mention also. I want to congratulate you for what we have seen in the past 24 hours in Gaza.
Thank you.
I think it's a historic deal. I went through the 20 points. It's almost like the best of record. You really see all the key elements. And if someone would have said a few weeks back that you and your team are able to push us to a position where there will be a ceasefire, an exchange of prisoners, hostages, and then a pullback, I would not have believed it. But this is what diplomacy is at its best, and I think it's a potentially huge deal. So congratulations to you and your team.
Peace in the Middle East.
Peace in the Middle East, yeah.
And every country came together. Every single country came together, and people are shocked by it. But it's an amazing situation. Nobody thought it was going to happen. Thank you very much. And you've been of help too. You help always. But we are really working more closely together, having to do with Russia, Ukraine. And I would have thought that would have been easier because that would be number 8 for me. Number 8. And I would have thought the Russia deal maybe would have been one of the easier ones. And unfortunately, last week they had over 7,000 soldiers die unnecessarily. So it's a terrible thing. But I think we'll be getting there hopefully soon.
Yeah, and probably we'll go, or you will be going piece by piece. There are only so many agreements that you can get done. And I think this one will be the next big one. Of course, this one needs to stick, and I'm sure it will because the incentives are all there. And then we'll continue to work. The last time I was here in the Oval Office was with the other European leaders in August, and I think we did a lot of good advancement there on security arrangements. I think you pushed us Europeans hard not to buy oil and gas from Russia, which I think is a very correct decision. Europe just put down its 19th sanctions package. I think Russia is actually right now both economically and militarily not in a very strong place, and I think it's because of the commitments that we've made to Ukraine. So, day by day on this one.
Yeah, we're going to get it worked out.
Once again, that is from just moments ago, President Trump meeting with the president of Finland, Alexander Stubb. You also saw the prime minister was there as well, sitting to the side. We are going to take a quick break, folks. In 2 minutes, we'll return, potentially rejoining this feed live because they are still speaking there at the White House. We also have a couple other feeds we're watching, including from the Senate floor, where it looks like we do have Senator Tammy Duckworth, who is speaking. Obviously, backdrop here of the 9th day of the government shutdown, which is underway, and dialogue still continuing to see if the government can get things up and running. So with that, once again, 2 minutes of a break. We'll be back on the other side with your latest headlines. Hi, folks. Welcome back here to the Live Impact News studio. I'm Vanessa Rufus. We will rejoin that bilateral meeting between President Trump and the Finnish President, Alexander Stubb. They are currently meeting in the Oval Office. So with that, let's listen in. You heard them talking about, most recently, relations and, I guess, mitigation of Russia as Finland is concerned in protecting its borders. Let's listen back in once again.
Since World War II, if you look at the people dying, is Russia, Ukraine. I think we'll do that too. We've a lot of reasons for them to do it, and I think they'll be coming to the table pretty soon. But this is the biggest of them all. This is a big one. Although I think India and Pakistan is very big. 2 nuclear nations. I did that based on trade and because of the tariffs. If we didn't have tariffs, you wouldn't have been able to do it. But I said if you guys are going to fight, I'm putting 100% tariffs on each of you. And they immediately stopped fighting, and that was going to go nuclear. You know, that was back and forth. So I know one thing. I don't know what they're going to do really, but I know this: that nobody in history has solved 8 wars in a period of 9 months, and I've stopped 8 wars. So that's never happened before. But they'll have to do what they do. Whatever they do is fine. I know this. I didn't do it for that. I did it because I saved a lot of lives. And that's the thing that bothers me so much about the Russia-Ukraine. 7,000 people are dying a week. Young soldiers. They're almost all soldiers of Ukraine and Russia. So in theory, it doesn't affect us, no, but it's a terrible thing. And we'll get that solved too. But nobody has ever done 8 wars. Nobody's done 8 wars in 30 years, let alone 9 months.
Are you going to step up? Are you going to step up the pressure for a Ukraine deal?
Yeah, we are stepping up the pressure. We're stepping it up together. We're all stepping it up. NATO's been great. The leader of NATO, as you know, Mark, has been fantastic, I think. And he's a fantastic guy. And they are stepping it up. And we're selling a lot of weapons to NATO. And that's going, I guess, to Ukraine for the most part. That's up to them. But they're buying weapons from the U.S. We make the greatest weapons in the world. You buy our planes and a lot of our equipment. And you have a big force, actually. You have a tremendous force of equipment. So I think we'll get that one done too, yeah.
President Obama got it for way less.
I want to finish, maybe.
Mr. President, I'm from Finland. Mr. President, I'm from Finland.
Is he okay?
Yeah. Am I okay?
He's all right.
I'm all right. Mr.
You look
President.
great.
Yeah, President. You are buying icebreakers from Finland.
Yeah.
But what if Russia and Vladimir Putin attacks Finland? Would you defend Finland?
I would. Yes, I would. They're a member of NATO. I would. They're great people, but I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think he's going to do that. Yeah. I think the chances of that are very, very small. But it's very interesting because you have a military relative to your size. You have a very powerful military, one of the best. Certainly, we will be there to help. Okay? Okay, please.
Mr. President, thank you. We have a big border, as our president said. How would you exactly defend Finland? And yeah, thank you.
Say what?
How would you defend Finland?
Vigorously.
Can I just add on that? We're very pleased with the fact that we have so much training going on with American soldiers right now. So they're getting experience from Arctic conditions, and we're integrating our militaries together, working not only through the DCA agreement but other ways as well. We see that day to day in the work that we do, and it's working well.
Okay. Please.
Yeah, thank you. How do you see this? I'm from Finland too.
Yeah, a lot of Finns.
It's very impressive.
So, Mr.
I like
President.
it better than our reporters.
Thank you. So, how do you see the situation in the Arctic developing? Are there going to be any mutual plans for Finland and U.S.
We have a lot of relationships together. I mean, mostly buying our military equipment. They buy a lot of it. They have an order, I guess, 60 planes, 64 F-35s, and many other things too. It's a big order. Big countries don't order that many planes. You know, it's
10 billion.
You have a lot of aircraft, a lot of great military. We make the best military equipment. They buy a lot from us, so it's very good. We're going to work together very closely with Finland and with NATO. We have a very good relationship. As you know, I requested that they pay 5%, not 2%. And most people thought that was not going to happen, and it happened virtually unanimously. We had one laggard. It was Spain. Spain. You have to call them and find why are they a laggard, and they're doing well too. You know, the funny thing, because of a lot of the things we've done, they're doing fine. They have no excuse not to do this, but that's all right. Maybe you should throw them out of NATO, frankly. Please, go ahead.
What are you planning to do with
Tall
that?
gentleman, nice tall gentleman, go ahead with the yellow shirt.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wanted to change gears just really quickly and ask you, you're going to Walter Reed tomorrow? What are you having done? How are you feeling?
I'm meeting with the troops, and I'm also going to do a sort of semi-annual physical, which I do. And I think I'm in great shape, but I'll let you know. But no, I have no difficulty thus far. Is there wood around here? I'll knock on. No difficulty. Physically, I feel very good. Mentally, I feel very good. You know, I did about 6-7 months ago. I do physicals. I like to, when I'm around, I like to check always early. Always be early. It's a lesson for a lot of people. But I also did a cognitive exam, which is always very risky, because if I didn't do well, you'd be the first to be blaring it. And I had a perfect score, and one of the doctors said he's almost never seen a perfect score. I had a perfect score. I got the highest score, and that made me feel good. When they asked, would I like to do one, I said, yeah. I said, did Obama do it? No. Did Bush do it? No. Did Biden do it? I definitely did. Biden wouldn't have gotten the first 3 questions right. No, Biden didn't do it. Biden should have done it. I'm actually a person that believes that if you're president, you should do a cognitive exam. But last time I took a cognitive exam, and it was a perfect score. The doctors announced it. And by the way, not the easiest test. The first few questions are pretty easy. Once you get into the middle, it gets a little trickier. And there aren't a lot of people in this room that would get every single question right, I can guarantee
You're putting me in a difficult spot now. Next question.
Mr. President, Obama got the Nobel Peace Prize for way less than you did, and President Obama got the Nobel Peace Prize for way less.
For doing nothing.
Exactly.
Obama got a prize. He didn't even know what he got. He got elected, and they gave it to Obama for doing absolutely nothing but destroying our country. No, he was not a good president. The worst president was Sleepy Joe Biden. But Obama was not a good president.
Are you going to do something with the
They gave him a prize. How many months after he won the election, then they gave the Peace Prize, right?
It was right before he was elected.
My election was a much more important election.
Now that you're fixing the situation between Hamas and Israel, are you going to be taking care of the Hezbollah or the Lebanese armed forces to take care of it?
Yeah, we'll be able to do that. That will be, it's a smaller part of the puzzle, but very important part. They have a great new ambassador that I appointed, Michelle. Great new ambassador. So yeah, please.
Saying that the hostages will be released on Monday or Tuesday. What's your strict deadline? When do they have to get released?
Well, I think it's going to be Monday or Tuesday. It's going to be around that time. Yeah, they're working on it very hard. They're in very diverse parts of the earth. Okay, they're very, very diverse. Actually, it's. I think they're going to come through. I'd be surprised if they didn't. I think it'll happen.
Thank you, sir. The 19th point of the 20-point plan said that in the future there could be conditions in which the Palestinians might eventually get a state. Under what conditions do you think the Palestinians could have their own state in the future?
At the time. We're going to see how it all goes. And, you know, there's a point at which we may do something that would be a little bit different and maybe very positive for everybody. But we'll be looking at that at the time.
Mr. President.
I think we'll get to that. I think we'll get to that period too. Yeah, please.
Mr. President.
Yeah, please. Bless.
Thank you. Mr. President, the United States has previously said that that Europe would have to take more responsibility for its own security. Are you or the U.S. planning to withdraw some of the U.S. forces from the European soil?
No, but we may move some around a little bit. I'd ask you that question, Pete. Go ahead.
I think that's right, Mr. President. We're very much heartened by your leadership to get NATO to rise up to 5%, which means they can take primary responsibility for defense of the continent. But that doesn't mean America is abandoning NATO in Europe. But we could look at where our troops are postured, what makes the most sense for America and our NATO allies.
We have a lot of troops in Europe, as you know, a lot. And we can move them around a little bit. But no, basically we'll be pretty much set. Go ahead, what's the second?
My second question would be, are you planning to impose more sanctions on Russia at this point?
I might.
Mr. President, your 20-point plan says we will encourage people to stay. Can you confirm that as Gaza is rebuilt, that no one will be forced to leave?
Yeah, nobody's going to be forced to leave. No, it's just the opposite. This is a great plan. This is a great peace plan. This is a plan that was supported by everybody. I mean, as I said, they're dancing in the streets of many, many countries right now. It's amazing. I've never seen anything like it. No, we're not looking to do that at all.
And Mr. President, how soon do you think that we can see a full withdrawal?
Mr. President, can you cut through the politics on the shutdown? We had another failed vote today. Can you speak to our viewers from Orlando to Sacramento? What's your message to some of these families tonight facing missed paychecks, potential layoffs, and missed benefits due to the shutdown?
Yeah, I blame the Democrats. They ought to call their local Democrat representative, whether it's a senator or a congressman, and it's their fault. I mean, they admit it, it's their fault. They campaigned on the fact that they'd never shut down the country, but they want to shut it down. And, you know, we have the greatest economy. We're the hottest country in the world right now. I think you'd admit that. The hottest country. We went from a dead country a year ago to the hottest country in the world. So I think they probably don't like that. But we're doing great. I mean, we're doing great. I would say my message is call your local representative, congressman or senator, and tell them to get on the ball. The Democrats have caused this problem.
Can I ask one more Congressman Randy Fine?
Thank you, Mr. President.
Where are you from?
I'm from Finland.
It's so nice. Uh-oh, here we go. Here we go with a killer question.
I would like to circle back to the icebreaker deal. So Finland and the U.S. are strengthening their economic partnership through the deal. What other areas of cooperation with Finland do you see as possible at this moment?
Good question. We're going to be talking about that in a little while. We're going into the next door room, commonly known as the cabinet room, beautiful room, and we're going to be discussing that, but we'll be doing other things. It's a wonderful country with wonderful people. We've had a long-term relationship, but it's never been as close as it is now. We'll be doing other things. Go ahead.
We've been talking about a lot with the President, with two specific fields where I think Finland has strengths. One is quantum and quantum computing, and we know that that is basically what gives food for thought for artificial intelligence. That's very important. The second one is actually networks. And you know that there are two sort of safe and trustworthy Western networks right now. One of them is Nokia, and the other one is Ericsson. And actually 70% of all broadband in the United States is Nokia. So one of the things that we could work on together is creating the 6G space through networks. And Nokia has 7,000 people working here in the United States and an American CEO.
Okay, anybody else?
Mr. President.
What is the international stabilization force that's going to deploy to Gaza? What is that going to look like?
To be determined, really, I think there's going to be a large group of people determining what it will be, and a group of people funding it that are very rich countries are going to be funding it. People want to see this work. It's going to work. It's absolutely going to work. And it starts, it's already started. We've signed, as you know. Everybody's agreed. I think Monday is going to be a very big day, Monday, Tuesday, but it's going to be, depending on where you are, it's going to be a very big day. I think it's going to be a day of great celebration. I've never seen anything like it. The streets of so many countries right now, they're just roaring with love and with praise for the people that did this. And these are countries that did this. The whole world came together for this, even Iran. And I really thank them for it. Iran came out and said this is a good thing. This is a very good thing. So it was terrific. It's been a terrific experience for me. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
So once again, just moments ago, you have this dialogue here, bilateral meeting between the Finnish president and President Trump with some questions by reporters afterwards. Different topics coming up, including you heard Russia discussed at length and concerns on behalf of the Finnish president about basically keeping Russia at bay with the ongoing war in Ukraine. And then, of course, the big international news of the week, the peace deal that could be having some headway to kind of bring a close to the war in Gaza. That addressed briefly as well. We will take a quick break, folks. We'll be back in 2 minutes. On the other side, potentially a peek into the Senate floor as we are on day 9 of the federal government shutdown. Hi, everyone. Vanessa Rufus here in the Live Impact News studio. We are pivoting now to the Senate floor, where within the last several moments we had a couple senators speaking. Of course, we are on day 9 of the federal government shutdown. Starting off here with Senator Tammy Duckworth. We also know that Dick Durbin follows up with some remarks following her.
Just to do his personal bidding, forcing them to confront peacefully protesting Americans instead of using their time preparing to protect our nation in case of future conflicts with America's adversaries around the world. Our troops didn't sign up for this. They signed up to defend Americans' rights to free speech, not to intimidate Americans from exercising that right. Our troops were willing to die to defend this country, not to defend one man's ego. Los Angeles did not ask for this. Washington, D.C. did not ask for this. Portland did not ask for this. Chicago did not ask for this. Our service members do not deserve this. I'm relieved to announce that just moments ago, I secured a Senate hearing in the coming weeks with witnesses from the Trump administration where I will ask tough questions and demand answers on these unjustifiable actions. Because I refuse to stay silent as our military and our service members' sacrifices are disrespected and abused by a man who was never brave enough to serve himself. I cannot let him keep giving our troops the middle finger while eroding the hard-won trust and confidence they've earned from the American public over generations of military service. These days, I may no longer be wearing my Army uniform, but it still hangs proudly in my Senate office. And now I spend a lot of my time seated on the Senate floor rather than beneath my Blackhawks main rotors. But my core mission is still the same as when I was in the National Guard, to keep America as strong and as safe as she should be. If only Donald Trump cared about doing the same. With that, I yield the floor and recognize my colleague, the senior senator from the great state of Illinois.
Mr. President.
Democrat Whip.
I want to thank my colleague from Illinois, Senator Duckworth, for inviting me to join her on the floor to discuss what's happening in our state. And before I do, I want to make sure it is well known for those who are following this debate to explain how she became my Senate colleague. There was a day some 20 years ago when I was given 2 tickets to the presidential State of the Union address. And my staff asked me if there was any particular guest I'd like to invite. I said, no, why don't you call out to Walter Reed Military Hospital and see if there's an Illinois veteran who can come and join us. They told me shortly after that they'd found someone who was coming. I didn't know that person. Her name was Tammy Duckworth, and she was in full dress uniform when she came into my office. It had been merely a few weeks since her helicopter had been shot down over Iraq, and she had gone through some terrible surgeries and recovery. But she came into my office with a large smile on her face and her husband, Brian, pushing her wheelchair. That was how we met. She was my guest at the State of the Union address. We became friends. I became the ombudsman for Walter Reed. She had soldiers calling me from all over the United States asking for help, and I didn't regret it one bit. It was an honor to do it. So I worked up the courage to ask her if she would consider running for Congress, and she said to me, I'd have to talk it over with Brian. And I thought, I've got a live one here. She sounds like she's interested, and she was. Her first try for office was not successful for Congress, but she later became head of the Veterans Administration for the state of Illinois, and then ran successfully to serve with me in Congress as a member of the House. When there was a vacancy available for the U.S. Senate seat, I not only encouraged her, but endorsed her and did everything I could to help. I'm honored to have her as my colleague. She's an extraordinary person, has more bravery than any 10 people I know. And she has shown her devotion to this country by serving in the Guard for over 20 years, 23 years? 23 years in the Guard. So when it comes to issues involving the Guard, there's no better expert who's ever served in the United States Senate. Illinois is lucky, America's lucky to have Tammy Duckworth, and I'm lucky to be able to join her today. We're proud of our heritage in the state of Illinois. We call it the land of Lincoln. And I recall an incident that's worth repeating. In 1858, Abraham Lincoln gave a speech in Edwardsville, Illinois. That's downstate near St. Louis. In this speech, he asked, quote, what constitutes the bulwark of our liberty and independence? Lincoln emphasized that it was not America's army or the power of our weapons. The founder of the Republican Party, Abraham Lincoln, said that it is, quote, the preservation of the spirit which prizes liberty as the heritage of all men in all lands everywhere. This is what is responsible for the maintenance of our freedoms. How the Republican Party has changed from those early days. Yesterday, President Trump deployed 500 National Guard troops to our state of Illinois. The president ignored the pleas from elected officials across Illinois that these deployments were unnecessary, unwanted, and a dangerous escalation of a situation the president himself has created. Leaders of the Chamber of Commerce and businesses in our state held a press conference and begged the president, don't send in the troops. You're peddling a message which is not true. It is not unsafe in Illinois. People there are proud to be part of that state. We know we're not perfect. Like every other place, we can be better and safer. But the use of Guard troops from Illinois or even from Texas is totally unnecessary and creates the wrong impression. That message was clear from the business leaders in my state, but President Donald Trump didn't care what they had to say. He wanted to deploy our nation's military to Illinois to spread fear and sow chaos. And in both those efforts, sad to say, he's succeeding. The president has no legal basis for deploying federal troops to Illinois against the wishes of the Illinois governor. There is no rebellion or insurrection happening in our state. Americans have the right under the First Amendment to protest this administration's cruel and misguided immigration policy. There is no room for violence whatsoever in this exchange of information and points of view, but it is part of our constitutional guarantee. And there is no argument, as some of my colleagues claim, during our Judiciary Committee markup meeting this morning that this is anything like the civil rights era of uses of National Guard by multiple presidents to enforce desegregation laws when segregationist governors in the South were defying federal law and court orders. President Dwight David Eisenhower, a general himself, federalized the Arkansas National Guard after the governor outright refused to comply with the law and was preventing the Little Rock Nine from entering previously all-white Central High School, following the Supreme Court's ruling in Brown versus Board of Education. There is no argument, no evidence whatsoever that the governor of Illinois is disobeying any federal law or court order. There is no historical analogy between the situation in the 60s rather, and the situation in Illinois today. In fact, the current administration has sued Illinois to attempt to commandeer state and local law, state law, and force Illinois to implement this administration's immigration policies. Courts have repeatedly found that Illinois does not have a responsibility to implement federal immigration laws.
Senator Dick Durbin speaking on National Guard attempt deployed to Chicago. Pivoting away from that Senate floor shot to live look at the big board as we approach closing bell. Dow poised to close the day down more than 260 points as we get closer to